Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast. Boom! What is going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Robin. I'm keeping it real.
Hey, and a year later, we're coming back.
1 year later.
to revisit the Amazon Treebo Roundtable, and I'm super stoked because
a lot of people are hyped.
Yeah, we've got just some great people that are going to be joining us tonight. But before we get into that, Rob, it's been a minute. How are we doing? How's things? What's new in reptile land over there?
Not a whole lot going on reptile wise. I did let go one baby scrub, so I guess that's kind of new. But kind of gearing up for the breeding season. I literally was like, I need to look at what I'm going to be pairing this year because I have so many female Borneos that are ready to go, and then I've got a whole bunch of scrubs that are ready to go. So I'm hoping that this year will be a good production year, at least for some of the stuff I've been waiting for, you know.
Heck yeah, dude.
What about you? What you got going on?
Well, after a crazy month of October between hurricanes and travel,
Mm-hmm.
I'm back in Statesville, North Carolina. Everything's finally moved in and settled in, and similarly, just prepping for the upcoming breeding season and crying already.
For real.
Yeah. but crying out of excitement and depression, simultaneous cries. But
keeping and breeding snakes, in a nutshell.
Yes, exactly. But it should be a fun year. I'm excited. I have a couple of Borneos that will be ready to breed this year too, so I'm excited to see baby Borneos. And breeding against better judgment, breeding some ball pythons.
What?
Yeah, because there's not enough of those out there.
I guess
we need more ball
They're
pythons.
hungry king cobras.
There are hungry king cobras. So and then I breed crested geckos because there's hungry green tree pythons. So,
True.
It all works. It all makes sense.
I wonder when that's going to hit the Amazon community.
That try the geckos. I'll be the first. There's a picky one. I'll throw a crested gecko in there. I'll make the internet mad.
I guess luckily enough, a lot of Amazons do take pinkies, but still.
Yeah. Thank goodness for that. We don't need to incite more riots on social media.
Yeah. Well, I'm super hyped for this episode tonight. I know that a lot of people have been waiting for a round 2 on the Amazon Treebo, as the last one went really well. And so I am hyped for this one. We've got some of the heavy hitters in the Amazon Treebo landscape, and I'm very, very grateful that they're willing to share their time with us this evening.
Hell yes, same. And before we bring them on, of course, massive shout out to our sponsor, Black Box Cages. Make sure you go check them out. And of course, that reminds me to throw that ticker on the bottom of the screen there. So go check out Black Box Cages, literally blackboxcages.com. Go check them out. Get yourself a new enclosure, a new rack system, some new husbandry supplies. They've got a lot of all that stuff over there, and they're always looking to innovate. And I got them to start working on an arboreal rack, which I'm super excited about, working with those Cambro tubs, those big Cambro tubs. So they're going to be designing a rack for that. And I have a few more ideas to throw to them as far as trying to include, which we can certainly discuss this with everybody in a moment, the access of a misting system with the rack system. Trying to figure out ways to integrate that for those people that don't want to do a bunch of cages and prefer racks. Anywho, let's kick this off. So we've got just a stacked lineup here. I'm going to bring everybody in, and then we'll have everybody introduce themselves and talk about where they're at and what they've got going on Amazon wise. So without further ado, a bunch of people.
Oh my goodness.
Bam. We're tiny squares today, guys. What's going on?
So many squares. So many handsome squares.
So many handsome squares.
For the record, I have fed a crested gecko to a picky Amazon. Just for the record.
Really? And
Yeah.
it took it right away?
Yeah, absolutely. Picky little baby, took it right away. It was a kinked cresty. You know, it came out with like a back folded in half. So it was like, okay, what do I do with this? Let's see if we can get this baby to eat. And it took it right away.
There you go.
Yep.
So
And it's like, why wouldn't they? There's so many lizards out in the areas where they're at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's everybody who wants to send their hate mail. That's Noah.
2 by 2 reptiles. This way, let's go.
Bruh.
Oh man. So I mean, let's kick this off for those people who don't know who's on the screen here with us. Let's take a minute and just have everybody introduce themselves. Vinny, we'll start with you because you're on the top right of my screen. I don't know if it's the same for everybody else.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm Vincent Clesi, VC Reptiles. Just been working with Amazons for a while now, just a couple of years. Last year was actually my first year producing, so that's exciting. And then just looking forward to the future, man. Making some cool stuff. That's really it, you know?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Noah, you want to go now that everybody hates you?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm send it my way. I've been disappeared from the internet for like a year. I won't even know if they're talking back. Just keep them coming. Noah Ingram, 2 by 2 Reptiles. If you're on Instagram, I haven't checked that thing in months, but I've been into Amazon tree boas since I was 17 years old, and that's 25 years ago. I produced my first clutch, a year or two after I got into them, or litter, and I've been doing it ever since. I did take last year off breeding. I didn't put anything together. Just trying to sort out this new job and life that I've been doing for the last year. But I have some pretty, I don't know, I might go crazy and pair. I have a dozen at least females that I could pair, but that sounds like a scary proposition for
That's a lot.
babies. And there's probably more than that, but it could be a big year ahead.
Damn.
Yep.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Ian, you're up.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Ian Bessell from S&J Reptiles down in Florida. I've been keeping Amazons since about 2017. Recovering green tree python addict, now Amazon tree boa breeder, and just happy to be here.
He finally saw the light. He was like, "Get these green things out of here."
Well, let's not get carried away. There's still a lot of those things here, but just a lot of Amazon.
You can't sell them or what?
Yeah.
I just can't seem to part with them. You got to keep all of them until you see what they're going to look like.
Yeah, that's the downside
fair.
of green trees. You got to keep them at least 2 years to see what they turn into.
And if you're me, you do that with Amazons.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or me. Sometimes it's 3 years.
You're not a good breeder unless you're a hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
True.
You have to be.
That's so true. So true. Rory?
Well, everybody, I'm Rory Gresco. Thank you for tuning in. I have a website, canopylabexotics.com. I've been breeding Amazons for, 15 or so years now. Started keeping them back in like 2005, 2006-ish. Been obsessed, and there's no looking back.
Hell yeah. One of the greats.
Dude.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Jake?
We got Jake Brooks.
Jake the Snake, Amazon eating arboreals. Been keeping Amazons since I was 19 years old, so about 26 years now. Had my first litter in 2007. Had some tigers. Had some nice leopard stuff from Ben Siegel back in the day. It's been a lot of fun.
Heck yeah,
Oh, yeah.
man. And last but not least, what up, Randy?
Who's that down there?
So how's it going, everyone? My name is Randy Pegues. Stoic Arboreals is my company, and Randall Pegues on Instagram. Been keeping reptiles probably most of my adult life, but started working with Amazons around 2011. Really didn't even consider breeding them until about 2017, 2018. And then my obsession just kind of took off. I kind of got completely out of most of the other species I worked with and just really wanted to focus on these guys. I just became an obsession. So I really love the calico stuff, like the extreme calico stuff, like really crazy white or really dark calico stuff. That's kind of my jam. But I have a little bit of everything. Space is always kind of an issue, but yeah, I'm really excited for the future. Next year should be really good for me if everything works out. But I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and putting snakes together and see what happens.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm super
Dude,
stoked to
that's
have all of you guys here. So thank you for making this
Yes.
happen. I want everybody to know how challenging it is to schedule a single guest for a podcast, let alone like 10 other guys that have
We are
a million
addicts.
things going on. Yeah, that have so much going on.
Yeah.
So definitely thank you all for coming on and hanging with us. And we might have a few more folks joining us a little bit later tonight, so make sure you hang around. And let's jump right into it, guys. So we're all breeding Amazons. My question I want to kick off with is, do you guys, because we're kind of all over the place in the country, do you guys have a specific season you start pairing things up, or are you watching your females for when they're cycling and you're just kind of breeding all year round? And whoever wants to go can just kind of jump into it.
Might as well start at the top. Huh?
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, you want to
Start
start
at
with
the
me? All right.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go for it, man.
Tell
I'm
us.
the
Go for
rookie
it.
in the group.
Let us know.
Perfect.
I mean, for me, I just do I'm doing all my animals the same time of year. I have my chondros on one wall. I have my Amazons on the other wall. This time of year, I have the boiler in the other room, so it brings a lot of heat into this room. What I do is I put up like a weatherproof door, and I just let it drop. The night temps start dropping a degree a week from September to end of November, and then I'll have a steady night temp from November to probably January around, and I'll be pairing around December, January, and then so they'll be paired with the cooler night temps, but then I'll start to increase the temps and increase the spraying, and I just keep them together. I take one male that I want specifically bred to one female. I put them together around January, and from what I got, they both ovulated around April, and they both had their babies August. So I'm hoping to do the same exact thing this year. Right now, I'm just pounding them full of food. I'm dropping the night temps gradually, nothing too crazy. I think it's like 76 degrees in the cages tonight, So nothing wild, and that's really it. I do believe though that keeping the male with the female, if you really want that one pairing, if you want a specific pairing, just keep them together for a few months. I feel like it'll happen,
Yeah.
I feel like once you start moving the male around, you pull the male out to move in with another female, and then you give them a break in between, then you put them in with the other female. I feel like sometimes you miss a window here or there when the female starts to ovulate. But what I've noticed with these compared to the chondros, which is a little easier too, is that my females get mad dark. They get so dark when they're ovulating. So I'm developing follicles. So that's how I kind of know what's going on.
What part of the country are you located in? I don't remember.
I'm on Long Island.
Okay.
In New York.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So it's been a little warmer than usual lately. Like my room right now, I think my room, what is it? 78 degrees in this room right now at night. But it's been super warm outside, which is a little out of the normal.
Unseasonal.
Yeah, for this time of the year,
for
definitely. But you know, I don't. It's still early for me, so as long as the temps are dropping, you know, December, January, February, they'll peak back up around March, and March, April. I'm getting ovulations. So,
Heck yeah, man.
yeah, I'm really hoping the same thing this year. I'm gonna give my 2 females that gave me litters. I'm gonna give them a break this year, and then I have 6 more virgin females ready to go. I don't know if I'm gonna do all 6. I mean, I want to just see what they make, but I just don't want to have an overabundance, and I want to look more forward to next year as well, as opposed to like blowing my whole load all at once and just having nothing left over for the next year. So I really just, and then also how I spoke earlier about having a particular male with a particular female, like I really want to use certain males for certain females. I don't want to just throw whoever in with whoever just to produce. I don't want to do that. I don't want Amazons just to have them. I want specific looking Amazons with specific genetics. So I'll hold off. I'll wait another year for a female, and just to make sure I could use that same male for 2 different females, I'll hold one off for a year.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I have enough going on with the chondros too, and then I want to go for the rough scale pythons this year. So that's another thing I want to try. Yeah.
Nice.
I know. It's I got them in the other room though, and it gets a little warmer, so I bought a whole nother another seal for the door. I'm gonna have to start making that room cold too. But then I have all my babies in that room, so I want to move the babies like into the closet and put like a weatherproof door on that.
It never ends.
Warm in the closet, keep it cool in that room. Then the boiler room in the middle has like the all my cabinets and my table, my workstation, my snake wash station, and the sink. So all that's in there. Like a little office and work room. I keep in the boiler room. So, but it gets so hot in there. So. Yeah,
so what I'm hearing is
productive to this time of year. It gets hotter in the winter and cooler in the summer.
Right. So you need some side content of also how to put up weatherproof panels and doors.
Yeah, no, there's like
some home improvement stuff
on
going
Amazon,
on.
like the plastic Velcro ones that go on the outside and they have the magnets in the middle. They work great, man. I'm telling you right now, there's over a 10-degree difference in these rooms.
Jeremy, you should see his wash station, though. His wash station is awesome. He made that himself.
Yeah, I went soup to nuts in that room. It was an old boiler room. It looked like shit. It was like yellow walls and laminate
It was like
floors.
a dog wash station.
I put tile down. I ripped everything up. Recessed lighting. I made a whole giant dog wash station. That's like 4 foot by 3 foot.
Damn.
Yeah, with cabinets underneath. Everything.
Yeah,
man.
it's dope.
So yeah, I figured even in the future, if I get a dog, it'll work out. I was washing my kids in there for a little bit when they were babies. It was so much easier than the sink in the bathtub. I'm like, it's waist height, hosing my kids down.
That's awesome.
Damn.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I had the 2 litters this year, and I was just really happy about it. I mean, they both ovulated on the same exact time. They both had their pre-lay sheds on the same exact day. Like it was just everything was really cool. It's just they were like in unison, just a couple of days apart, and all the babies are doing pretty well. It's like ironically, 1 litter is phenomenal. They're just eating like champs nonstop. All of them had second sheds already. The first litter, it's like it seems to be any problematic animal seems to be isolated from the first litter. There's nothing going on in the second litter. All 13 of them are phenomenal animals. Just power feeders, man. They're killing it. And it's the first one. It's like even though I've gotten every single one to eat on their own at least once, I have ones that won't eat again. And I've tried the braining. Whatever that fucking braining, I tried that. Yeah. I tried the chick down. I haven't tried the geckos yet, but we'll see.
Have you tried putting them in a deli cup overnight?
What with the frozen thawed pinky
with the
or
fuzzy
did you do that with a live pinky?
Live.
You can do it with the frozen thawed too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it with a deli cup, but I took for the 2 that are really giving me problems, I took everything out of their 6-quart tub and left them overnight with it. And I even squeezed the brain out of the head and left a little chick down on it, and they don't even touch it overnight. And it's funny too, because it's like even tonight I was trying, and I'm getting there. They seem really interested, and I'm being very patient with it. I'm holding it, and their snout is like glued to it, but they won't bite it. So I can tell they're interested, and then eventually they'll bite it, they'll wrap it, and I come back, a half hour later because I don't want to startle them, and they're on the other side of the enclosure,
Mhm.
So and
You got
ironically, like I
those.
said, I've gotten them to eat already. So every single one that I have that has eaten on its own and held it down, but now a couple of them are giving me problems. So we'll see. It's like on and
Try
off.
jelly cupping them.
Yeah, I
Deli
think
cup. I
I
would
had the
definitely
same
try that.
problem with the chondros in the first 2 months of their life, 2 to 3 months, and they all kind of snapped out of it. Now every single one of those is just eating great. I don't have a single problem. I go in there, I could pull out every single tub and just feed every single one, and I could push the drawers back in, and it won't disturb any of them. They all will eat it all perfectly fine, and that's how the second litter is too. Even I have multiple animals eating in their shed. Dead in the shed, eating, doing great. The babies, I'm like, all right, they're just great, strong animals, and it's the first litter that they're like my favorite too. My top 3 favorite babies, from the first litter,
That's
are the
how
ones
many
that are
times.
giving me the problem.
Every time.
Every time.
It's always-
it
it's
never
always-
fails.
You're not supposed to. You're never supposed to verbalize which ones you like out loud,
I
because
know.
those are the
It's-
It's
ones.
funny.
It's like
when
not
you're picking
not
the
naming a
numbers out,
baby till its first
for
birthday.
their numbers. I'm like, I'll name these 1, 2, and 3. The top 3,
Yeah.
and now they're my worst 3. I'll fucking throw
Yep.
them in the garbage.
So sometimes with those babies that take them and then don't eat them, they drop them. You just keep bothering. I've had babies like
Yeah.
that where you
Yeah.
just
Gotta
you feed
harass
them
them.
once and then they drop it. You feed them a second time, they wrap it, they drop it. You do it a third time. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the 4th time that they finally swallow it, but it's like you just bother the hell out of them for
Some of
for
them.
one
Oh
night.
yeah, I mean that's like
until
story of
they
my
eat
life,
it.
man. I mean,
It's like they
I'm
get
spending 6 hours. I'm walking back and forth watching TV,
Yeah.
going upstairs, seeing what's going on. My wife,
Mhm.
going back down. I'm gonna try a 10th time. Next thing you know, the pinky's
Yeah.
falling apart. So I
Yeah.
tried it 100 times. I gotta thaw out a new pinky.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm like, all right, here it goes, and then
Yeah.
and I've gotten them to eat doing that, but it's
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck this. I don't care.
How much-
I'll
how
come back
much-
if they eat. They eat. If not, they don't. I'm not gonna sweat
much-
anything anymore. I got
Yeah.
too much going on in my life to stress this stuff.
Yeah.
These babies. And that's what I did with the green tree pythons. I kind of walk away from it. I say, you know what, if this
That's
animal's
the
not going to
spirit.
eat, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to be they've eaten already by their own. I'm not going to start force feeding anything. I'm just I'm waited out. Let them starve.
One of the
if
one of
you-
the things I was wondering if any of you guys have tried is one of the things that the postal and notice people will do, and I've actually done it with ball pythons, blood pythons, and a few other species as well. Is if you can get them to bite, try holding them in your hand, get them to bite, and see if they'll wrap and hang. Because sometimes if you can get them to hold on to it while they're hanging from something, they instinctively don't want
Yeah.
to drop it, and so they'll start chewing it. But some of the Amazons that I've had, the babies, they won't even grab it if they're in your hand. So I don't know if it's worth giving
It's
it a
funny you
shot.
say that because I actually that was a method that worked for me with baby rhino rats.
Yep. Yeah, rhino
Like
rats.
that
I've done it with
really
my
that
corn
really
snakes.
did like I couldn't get them to eat for anything, and I would hold them in my hand and they would just keep striking at me, and you'd hold it up and they'd bite it and they just hang with it. And next thing you know, they just start working it up and start eating it. I'm like, you fucking little bastard. I'm like, then you gotta sit there like this, frozen.
Yeah,
like
your arm's
15
dead.
minutes,
You're
you move
like,
a little
come
bit,
on.
now your shoulders getting you like, oh god damn.
Have you tried pinky heads?
The what?
Have you tried pinky heads? A trick that I use with baby green trees, I've started to use with Amazons, and it works really well, is you just take a pinky head on the end of a shish kebab spear. Because if they'll grab it, they almost always get it stuck in their mouth, and they sometimes they shake it off, but you just do it again. You put that pinky head right on the spear, and you don't have to have the reflex to let go of it. They just grab it when they strike at it. And a lot of times, if you can get it just right in their mouth, they'll shake their head and they'll try to yawn it out, and they can't. And then they're like, "Fuck it, I'll just swallow it."
Yeah.
So,
You know what?
not
The
a
reason
lot,
why I've never thought about that is because they're.
meal. It's
I
not
feel
a big
like
meal,
a
but you do
pinky
that,
head is so small.
you do that
they
2 or
came
3
out so
times.
big. These Amazons. I don't know if they're always that big. 'Cause it's only the first year I ever
do
produced
like a
any,
peach
but
fuzzy head,
they came out
but
so big that I could give them fuzzies. A pinky head is like really kind of small, but I guess it's better than nothing. But
you
I
could do
also
like
don't
a-
even think about that because they've eaten before for me.
Yeah,
So
you
like I
can do
have
like a
this like
fuzzy
I have this
head.
like confidence that eventually they'll just start eating again. They're just being finicky, you know.
Yeah, you
Hopefully.
could do like a peach fuzzy head or even a fuzzy head, but the idea
Yeah,
is
I
you want it to be
might have to
small
do
enough.
that.
You want
I
it to
could
be
see
small
that with
enough
it getting
that like
stuck in the
it
mouth
gets
with that.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's big enough, they'll just be able to rub it out. But like if it's something that's small, it's like for whatever reason, once they get it behind those teeth, it's like they can't get it out, and it's
Yeah.
not much of a meal. But you can give them a pinky head like every 2 or 3 days, and what happens is you do that like 2, 3, 4 times in a row,
And
and
just
then
like
the next time you give them a full size meal, and they're just used to it at that point. It's almost
Yeah,
like
I might have to try that going forward.
But
With
it was
just
I've
the
done that
head,
a
you
few.
know.
I've done that a
baby
few
green
times in the
trees on the end of a
context of
shish
like
kebab
assist
stick.
feeding.
Yeah.
yeah, on a
It's way,
skewer.
it's way less stressful than assist feeding. You know what I mean? Cause
Oh,
they at least
a whole
grab it.
item, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's I did pinky heads for my squams when I had the baby squamager, but I felt like what would happen too is like I'd be holding the head for a while, and then when they finally bite the head, like it almost would be like stuck to the tip of the tweezer, and like they would like drop it because it wouldn't just fall right off. They'd have to
Yeah.
pull it off, you know. So I was like,
Mhm.
it was like a little annoying things, you know. So
Oh,
what, you
yeah.
got to put on like a toothpick or something?
That's exactly it.
That's what
dude.
I've done. Yeah, a toothpick.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The shish kebab spear is like a giant toothpick, and like they just
It
pull
just
it right
slides
off.
right
You don't
off.
have to, yeah,
Mhm.
you just barely, you just spear the pinky head, and like when they grab it, they just pull it right off when they recoil back. You know, you don't have to have the reflex to let go of the forceps in the perfect moment.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
they just like
Yeah.
recoil and they grab it, and then they're like, shit, I can't get it out of my mouth, and they'll like shake their head or they'll yawn.
Yeah, I guess I'll have
It
to
works great
swallow
with
it.
baby green trees too.
That's
Yeah, I'm gonna try
interesting.
that.
Sure.
It's just so frustrating. See, if these were animals that never ate for me, then I'd be like, that, you know, I'll try anything. But it's like they've eaten for me. You know, they've swallowed meals and held it down and had bowel movements. You know, they've had second
Yeah.
sheds. I don't know what, you know. It's like on
You
and
just-
off with them.
Just
Like
regress
even
Let 'em-
tonight, I had one that hasn't eaten for me the past 2 offerings. So, you know, the past couple of weeks it hasn't eaten for me, but it's eaten before and it ate for me tonight. So I'm like,
Sometimes you
all
just
right,
gotta
whatever.
let
I
'em
guess
get
you're
a
in the
little
mood to eat
hungry.
tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who had said that, but yeah, sometimes you just got to let them get a little hungry. It's an
Yeah, I said just let
interesting
them starve.
interesting thing. Yeah, a little bit. Like I remember when I was like earlier on breeding carpets and stuff, you know, like it was the first major species deviation from a lot of the more typical snakes that I was keeping. So a lot of times babies wouldn't take after that, you know, let it shed the first 7 days and then, you know, then you can feed it. And they weren't taking shit,
Yeah.
you know, and then it was like, I started hearing people like, let them live for like 3 or 4 weeks before you even offer them food. And I'm
Yeah,
like, wait, what?
absolutely.
They're like as thin as a pencil. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, but they have to be in that hunt space, that hunting headspace.
Yeah.
And then bam, they're on it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're just constantly offering food, it's almost like you're pestering them, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to create a negative experience every time you go to feed them either, I feel like, you know?
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Once a week, and if they don't take, you just wait till the next week. That's
I think
what it pretty much
that's
came
kind
down.
of like what I've been doing, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like instead of going in the next day or 2 days later, I'm like, fuck that.
Exactly. You
No,
just wait a
I'll
week.
come back
Yeah.
next week, man. You missed out, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Mhm. I'll show you.
Yeah, suffer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mhm.
So now is it Rory's turn to go do the breeding stuff, or
Handcuff.
Yeah, what are we
talking
talking about?
about? Beat 'em.
Breeding
Yeah, so-
strategies.
yeah?
Like, so are you do you have a specific season you're putting stuff together, or are you paying attention to when females randomly might start to cycle?
Well, it was both. It was both for a long time. Although I moved recently in the last couple years, and my snake room ambient conditions are a little bit different, and I'm really noticing it. I think after a couple kind of lackluster seasons, I'm noticing females building follicles in like complete off season. In fact, I've got a couple things right now that look like they want to get paired up soon. And typically in the past for 10 plus years, I would like start going later and later and later just out of habit and experience, because I found, for a long time, like clockwork, most of my girls were ovulating like around like kind of like April, May, June sort of timeline. And at that point, like I kind of just knew, like, you don't have to pair in December and January, and if you're lazy, you don't really have to do it in February or March. But like if you just wait and you kind of see that girl getting real big and dark, you can throw it in like, May or March, April-ish, and like great litters consistently. I had a couple anomalous kind of like slug outs in the last season or so that's just made me kind of like totally rethink my strategy going forward. And because I'm kind of dealing with different conditions, I'm sort of going back to like level 1 newbie tactics. Like, no. One male, one female. I'm gonna be patient, be strategic about the pairings, because man, for a while there, I was just kind of playing fast and loose with like male to like 3 or 4 girls. Like he gets in like one time sneaky and the job is done. But if everything is going on, like a good timer, that works. But the moment it doesn't, man, you feel like an idiot.
For sure.
Yeah, it just goes to show, like, just something simple like changing your room can throw everything back. It's like you think you know the animals inside and out, and then it's like it can reset things so easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, the new room that they're in, the house I moved into, is kind of like a shady property, and everything stays actually a little bit cooler, which, outside it stays cooler, but what that actually equates to is somehow it like actually stays a little bit warmer ambient wise in the snake room, a little bit warmer, because I don't actually run the AC. So like the snake room doesn't get like any ambient AC in the summertime, so I can let it kind of like rise up a little bit. And then in wintertime, because that room is just a little bit warmer than ambient, because the house is a little cooler, my house heater's coming on more. And I've noticed that that's like pretty much totally keeping my room very consistent. So I think there's actually less like seasonal fluctuation that I'm dealing with right now. And that seems to just like really stretch out the time period in which they're developing follicles and going through their cycle.
Yeah, when you have
That's really interesting.
I would often get asked, and of course it's a, reasonable question, like, oh, do you cool? And my answer has always been like emphatically no. I've never put any effort into cooling my animals, but that's not to say that my room doesn't fluctuate seasonally. And if it does, it doesn't really take much deviation from like a average temp for those animals, I think, to kind of get like synced into that as a cycle, if it's consistent. And when my animals kind of, I think, lost that cue, I don't know, maybe I was cooling all along.
Yeah, we literally had a question in the chat. Someone was wondering how cool is the coolest you guys will take your Amazon.
Oh yeah.
To.
Yep.
I don't like to keep, I don't like to let my room really get like below like 70, 72. Like that starts to get kind of cold for ambient temps for me. But that's just like maintaining like a whole, like snake room. I would say like upper 60s, it's like it would be safe for them, certainly.
For sure,
but you start to deal with like relative humidity issues and stuff when you start going low. Of course, like the air cannot hold as much humidity at those lower temperatures, and so things start to get wet and damp rather than humid. And in my experience, that's just what you want to avoid. Like when you notice that water is like condensating out of the air and collecting on surfaces, that might be an indication that your ambient temps are just too low.
Yeah. Anybody else? If you guys go lower than that, or
I'm in Pennsylvania, so go ahead. My snakes are in my garage, and the only thing temperature controlling this garage is a mini split, which isn't quite big enough to control this whole garage. So sometimes in the wintertime, the temps in this garage will be mid 60s. I mean, I've been in here, it's 62 degrees, but also every cage either has, back heat, belly heat, or radiant
Okay.
heat panels set at 70 or 82 degrees or so for the hot spots, and then the rest of the cages. I mean, I'm sure parts of their cages will get down into the low 70s, maybe even upper 60s, the bigger cages. But that's how I naturally do it. Just like Rory said, it's like I don't ever change my thermostats. They stay the same year round, unless I have a pregnant female and I'm increasing the heat for her. But it naturally just does it in this garage itself.
Yeah.
Cools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think
Jake, you were
generally
going to say something?
low 70s where I'm at.
Yeah, I was saying 68 degrees is the lowest I will let the room get when I'm breeding. Because I've noticed around 68, 67, 68 degrees, sometimes you can get an RI, and you want to avoid that. So,
yep.
But that's
Jake,
about
where
that's
are
about
you
the
located?
lowest I'll let it get. I'm in Alabama, and my room has changed too. I had to move a couple years ago, and I'm experiencing some of the blues right now because I just had a female slug out this year that I was hoping would produce some blue eye leucistics, and
Damn.
that didn't pan out. So I tried the male to 2 different females, and I think I missed, like Vinny was saying, I think I missed the perfect time for him to get the second female. The first female died. She ovulated and then died. And so, it's been a challenge with the room I've got right now. So I'm working on, running an air conditioner, running a heater, got a humidifier, got the fan going. It's about 120 square foot, and I'm about to add a bigger room onto the snake room that I have. So now I've got a whole nother challenge of how am I going to heat and cool that bigger space, because I need more space than what I'm working with right now. 120 square foot only gets you so far. I mean, I've got like a six quart rack, I've got a 20 quart rack, and I've got like soon we'll have 20 arboreal cubes in there for the adults, and it's just running out of space. So I'm ready to add on and expand.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rory, really quick, going back to your recent move, was that a far distance for you?
No, not at all. However, here in I'm in Southern California, by the way. And well, even though it's not very far in terms of like distance, I guess you could say I did kind of go over the hill into like a more coastal area, and things are a little bit cooler. Like we get more evening breeze from the ocean, a little bit higher like ambient humidity. I've been mostly like out in the Inland Empire, kind of like more desert Southern California area, where it's hot and dry, and it's still hot over here, but it's a little different. But then again, as I mentioned, just like the position of this house, the property with like the trees surrounding it, it's kind of like unusually shady for my area. And it's nice. I've never had of a property here in Southern California that I didn't have like a $600 electric bill every summer for. But yeah, it's caused some unanticipated issues in the snake room. Like it's too consistent now.
That's what it is though. Since you're not using usually when it's hot, you put the AC on. You don't set it to like 74. You set it to like 64. 67,
right?
So keep it colder. Now that it's nice and comfortable out, it's probably like in the low 70s.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So it actually stays warmer.
Right. Yeah. Precisely. Yeah. This house like easily 5 degrees or so cooler than most other houses in this area I've lived in. But because the AC runs less, that snake room just kind of gets to like vibe and simmer from all the heat, and it just stays real consistent. I don't have to. I mean, it's nice. There's been, times where, you know, you like stress out like, oh, how is the room getting like, because a room can get 100 degrees if you're not careful, or you know, the AC goes out, or you forget to turn it on or something. I've had that issue. Oh no, is it too hot in the snake room? Or I'm getting like actual like text message alerts from some of the from the thermostats.
Yeah, from the thermostats. Yeah.
I have like a little remote like temperature monitoring device, and it'll tell if it like it is like 92 degrees, and you're like, uh-oh. That starts to
cooking. Wait, Rory, did you say you forget to turn the air conditioner on? Like, I can't imagine living somewhere without air conditioning 24/7. Like, my AC runs 24/7 in January.
Florida guy.
The island, we know
right
air conditioning.
I don't know how different like energy prices are between where we live, but in Southern California, man, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Your electric bill is only $600, and you're not even running the air conditioner. Like, bill was $600. My is nonstop.
See, where Rory's at, if he looks at the air conditioning, it's $40. So just like, I'm not gonna look over there.
Yeah.
I get a carbon tax too with some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting though, like how different the conditions are, right? We got New York, Pennsylvania, California, Alabama, Randy's
Florida,
in the Pacific Northwest, Florida.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big stretch, like, you know, from north to south.
We cover everything, I think.
Pacific Northwest.
We got the four. We have the four corners here.
Sure.
Just to show how you can do Amazons no matter where you're at.
That's right. That's
no, 100%, 100%, and that's one of the reasons why I asked that this question was, you know, how everybody, if you're doing a more ambient based setup, you know, does that impact how you're pairing things together, or if you're kind of treating each enclosure as a more individual section where you're really manipulating temperatures more on an individual enclosure basis. But also, like, I circled back with Roy because we've talked multiple times on the show about how where you live and if you move plays a huge role in your success in breeding, especially when you have a collection that's so well established and they're very used to going through those motions. And it's interesting to hear, like, Rob and I both moved from the Northeast to the northern Southeast, but it's still like 1,000-mile move. And that's a really big change for all of our animals to get accustomed to. So to know that even a small distance and move can still generate some other things you have to kind of tweak and adjust in between. So even when you're very locked in with your animals already.
Yeah, 100%.
I know
moved.
Keith is going to be on later, but he always says, right, the rhythm of the room. So it doesn't really matter what that rhythm is. The animals get used to the rhythm of the room. That's why, like, you know, when Vincent was saying, like, his animals went the same time, it's like they sense it, right? Like, all the animals in your collection, regardless of the species, like, they get that rhythm of the room. And that's also why you can have two rooms and they don't even act the same, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the rhythm of the room. Like, every room has its own, like, nuances. And I don't think it's even necessarily, you know, like, just one stimuli. Like, it could be the temperature, but it could also be, like, the amount of natural sunlight they get, or the draft they get because where the air vent is, or, you know, how much foot traffic there is in a certain part of a room. Like, there's just so many things that the animals, they get used to. They key in on all of that stuff, and then they settle in, right? Like, they're there every day, month after month, year after year. Some of them, their whole life they're there, so they get used to a certain rhythm. And then you change that on them, and it throws them off. It doesn't necessarily matter the distance; it could just be to the other side of the house.
Yeah, and even if those other conditions are ideal, it's just the change itself, you know.
I've moved once from Virginia to here with my snakes, and then when I was here, I moved my snakes from my house to my garage. Just moving them from, I hate it. It gets me anxiety thinking about moving my snakes to somewhere else, because legitimately every time I've moved them, I have had, just like you said, Rory, I've had more slug litters. I've had more slug litters on the years that I moved my snakes than any other years ever. Like it takes 2 years to get your animals back into the groove of whatever room they're in, even if you're moving them from the left side of the house to the right side of the house. That's what it feels like to me, anyway.
Like how many times have you shipped a snake to somebody who has a setup that you've coached them to have the exact same setup, like the same tub, the same perch, the same temperature, the same water bowl, the same substrate, and you ship the snake and it's in that same setup somewhere else 24 hours later, and now the snake's like, I'm not going to perch, I'm not going to eat, and you're like, what's the temperature? And they tell you the temperature's right, the humidity's right, everything's exactly the way that you do it, but like, they're just 800 miles away or 2,000 miles away, and snake's like, nah, not the same.
Some of these animals, it's just how it goes sometimes. I mean, not just reptiles. Most animals do that for moves,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Does anybody else want to chime in on
a season or two to recover?
Right.
Learn the room again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Does anybody else want to jump in on this topic?
So I'll say one thing. I'm messy and I am OCD at the same time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So the way that I breed is similar to what everybody has said. It's
so you're ADHD.
Yeah, 100%. I should 100% be on some sort of medication to make me focus, but I'm not. So I just go every direction, But so my room cools down in the wintertime. I start introducing, and I'm very OCD about what male I'm going to have with what female, and I will pair a male to 2 females. But then I'll introduce them. I'll let them hang out together for a couple days, and then I'll take them apart. Like I'll feed the male. I want to keep him eating as much as I can throughout the whole process, because I will keep putting them together and then giving them 2 days off every single week until I see her ovulate and basically turn dark. And I'll even go overkill and let them stay to keep introducing the male to the female after I know she's ovulated and before she's shed, just to be sure. Because I don't know, I feel like sometimes I've stopped the pairings too early, and that's the reason I've gotten slug litters. But I'll do that from February until June sometimes, but it usually you end up seeing a post-ovulatory shed sometime around April or May, but I've gotten them as late as July, like August. I mean, they so I'm just very, very methodical about it. Introduce them on Mondays, take them out on Fridays. If I need to feed anybody, I'll feed them. I want to keep the girls eating too, to make sure they have enough on them to deal with their gestation. Right. And then I'll leave them apart for a day, and then I'll introduce them back together. Sometimes just feeding them gets them to lock. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but so I'm very methodical about it throughout the process. Yep. And I notice you get more action if you separate them and then put them back together. Separate, give them a break, and then put them back together. If you notice the male not interested in the female for, I used to just put them together for months, months. I have no idea what's happening. I just want to make babies, right? So I'm going to put these 2 snakes together, right? And you notice the male just gets uninterested at some point. If you remove him, and put him back in, he might be interested again.
For me, if they're going to breed, it's usually pretty fast. Like, you leave the room, come back, and like, oh, there they go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it also has a little bit to do with compatibility.
Yeah, I usually try to pay attention to see if I have a pair together and like they're cuddled up in the tube together, then I'm like, all right, cool. Nice. As long as you guys don't hate each other, They're
But
good.
when the female starts like spazzing, they like buck the male off. You
Yeah.
see
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
behavior. You know, like, okay, this is not the right time. They're not
Yep.
digging it. I pull them right out when I see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100%. And then we all say a thankful prayer that we don't breed retics.
Yes.
Never even considered it.
Yeah, never. No, thank you.
No,
Oh,
not in
man.
Florida.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
need to clean
well,
shits bigger
yeah.
than myself.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a
True.
good rule to not have to clean up any crap that's bigger than your own. I think that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
keeper rule.
That's fair.
Somebody clip that and put it in a retic group on Facebook.
Oh, great.
Dude, I'm on the fence. I got Bloods and Short Tails, and those motherfuckers be shitting, man.
This is
Yeah,
like
they're thick,
twice
man.
a year,
It's
though,
got
right?
like a baby arm coming out.
Dude, it's terrifying. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes.
Yeah, Randy
Ugh.
said it only like twice a year, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
when it happens, it shakes the house.
Yes.
Astronomical.
The smell's probably worse for that.
I
Oh,
can't
Honestly, the pee
imagine.
smells worse.
Hmm.
Basically.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess
Uh,
So
also
we did have a
like,
question in the chat about handling too. If any of you guys are doing any socialization with your Amazons.
yep, I was just about to go to that. Yeah.
Only the
Uh,
nice
Let's
ones.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, only the nice ones. That's the move.
Yeah. I mean, I try to hold most of the babies, but once you get so many of them, that's, you do what Rory says is you kind of just tend to pick the favorites and go from there.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
If you're
I just feel
working
whether
with
or not
like
we
a
socialize them, there's always going to be the assholes and the nice ones. Like I
Right.
never, I find no reason to touch my animals. Honestly, I kind of just let them live and
Sure.
do their thing. I don't play with them. I don't take them out. I haven't even cleaned the bottom of the cages in 2 years. You know what I mean? I just have all leaf litter and the mulch, and I got some. I actually have some greenhouse millipedes in there too that just came with the
Nice.
plants, so it's been working well. But just keep
Straight
putting new
up
leaf litter in
bioactive
there
on
and
us.
everything. I don't really mess with them too much. They do great. And then I have animals that I could reach right in right now and pull out. No problem. And I have animals that I can't even go near. If I want to clean the shelf or if I want to clean the water bowl, I got to make sure they're away, even during the daytime.
That's on my Amazon.
Yeah, and I thought,
Yeah.
I had this whole, a lot of mine are really nice. So I thought, the babies would be nice. Some like the more generations of captive bred. My babies are pretty nasty, man. They're all little assholes. So I don't think I think it's just hit or miss, personal and individual personality,
You should try Venezuelans. they're
Yeah.
they're psychos as babies.
Ruschenberger.
Yeah.
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 Let's see real quick. Come on.
Psychos. I
Oh,
mean,
man.
just
Yeah.
psychos. They will jump out of the cage like a missile to bite you.
Really?
Like, yeah.
You still working
Yep.
with some Noah?
Whole body just shooting out of the cage at your shirt. Like,
That's like white
Um,
lips like that too.
yeah. hmm
Yeah, my little Venezuelan is like literally as soon as I go near that enclosure, it's like sight acquired,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna levitate out of this tub just to bite
Yeah.
you.
You might have to get them.
I have a big one like
They are
that.
definitely at the bottom of Amazon.
hmm
It's one of my girls right now.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That one produced by Rory.
oh, look at her.
Yeah,
That
Pretty
I
one.
love that girl.
she's
That
pink
look
in
is one
person,
of my
but the
favorite.
blue light doesn't help.
Wow.
Yeah,
But I have a
but-
lot of animals, like big animals, I could just pull right out. Like
Yeah.
she's never struck at me. This animal, as sweet as can be. I have other animals that can't even go near their cage.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
how much work do you
Yeah.
want to put into it? So if you go in there and you start messing with them and you're confident, I think confidence really plays a key role in it. You can't be hesitant on them and
Yeah,
just keep doing it over and over again, and they'll realize that you're nothing to really worry about.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah,
animals
totally,
just
Randy.
come around right away, and some of them, like I have that snake that I bought from Rory years ago, Freak Show. He hates me still, always.
yeah.
But the other ones are fine. So
I feel
for
like
sure.
with-
I think that they definitely, some of them are certainly more calm than others, but I think also, especially with the young ones, like you have to have that confidence, like you said, Randy. Like my wife says that I manhandle them, right? But like I'm always like, God damn, they bit me, like like. I'm always cussing at them or yelling at them because I get bit a lot when I go through and clean it. But I just reach in and grab them. And
Yeah,
like,
we're jaded.
a lot of times they don't have a chance to react, right? Like they're already like picked up and like being held, and I'm cleaning the cage with one hand and holding them in the other. I don't give them that chance, right? I don't give them the chance to like look around and think
Always
what's
keep
going
them
on.
guessing.
It almost stuns them too, though, right?
Grab
Because
them.
they're used to being defensive, but when you don't allow them to even get defensive, they're just kind of like, oh, what's going on? You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
They go
And
to
most of them are used
inquisitive
to it
mode.
now.
Yes.
Like they're used to it because I've manhandled them so many times.
I've got some bastards.
Reach in, grab them, and now some of the big ones, forget it.
I've got
like,
some
there's
straight
no way
bastards.
I wouldn't know
When you're holding them, it helps just to kind of keep them moving. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
and especially with like babies, because if you let them just like wrap around
They
a
keep
finger
for a second.
squeezing, then they're like, this is my turf now. So, and they just go for knuckles or whatever they
Like,
can.
where is warm? I'll bite it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like with babies, you keep them. I keep all mine in tubs, 6-quart tubs, or 11-quart tubs, whatever they are, and they're on paper towels, and they have a little perch in there and a water dish. I mean, every day I'm going through, okay, so there's a urate, there's a poop, whatever it is, I got to clean this. So I take that snake out, they see me literally every day. I mean, they're spraying their cage, looking at them, or cleaning their cage every single day. And I mean, up until, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, middle aged, whatever. I mean, I guess that's adult. They're nice, but as soon as I give them the big cage, and then they get their own little spots to hide because I have driftwood logs in there and stuff like that, then that's when I'll find out, is this snake going to stay nice, or is this snake going to turn into an angry 6-foot long tree boa like whatever. And many of them do stay angry, but they're so slow. Getting bit by one is really hard to do if you're paying attention.
And if you don't want to get bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you find that your babies are using those perches that you're offering them?
Yeah. I mean, some of them have the I don't know what they're called. Who's the guy that makes the perches? I use the netting.
Specialty enclosure designs.
Yeah, specialty enclosure designs. Yeah, I have some of those, and then I have some just netting. Either one, but they all seem to use it. They will also lay on the ground just as often. But
right.
They seem to not have
a ground hide, and they use it. Actually, I think Rory, you were the one who told me, treat them like a corn snake, right? Well, I think
an arboreal corn snake.
All of mine have a ground hide and an arboreal hide, or something to climb up on, and they'll spend just as much time on the ground as they will climbing up on stuff.
For sure.
I like to do like a sphagnum hide for babies too. They really like the security of hiding in like a little clump of moss. It's great for like shy non-feeders, picky ones, etc.
That's a good idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jeremy, going back to your original question, season versus as all year, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm probably the furthest south of everybody, right? And so my season, and I find the same thing with my green trees. My season's super late. Like, I'm still waiting on babies right now. My female November, December. So I'm actually way later than you guys. And I find the same thing with my green trees. I feel like I'm getting eggs when everybody's got babies hatching. So my females tend to go later, but I think that my stimuli is probably a little bit different because I've got to wait for either a really, really extreme cold front to make it all the way to South Florida to even have the opportunity to cool. Or I tend to actually pair a lot when we have hurricanes and tropical storms. That's because it's that same influence, right? We get like a huge pressure change. So I feel like my females tend to go a lot later. And what it makes me think, and the same thing with my green trees also, is like, I don't know how necessary a season is necessarily. It's just just a matter of getting the right stimuli, right? Like it can be cooling, but it also could be pressure change. It can be light cycle. It can be food cycle. So I think that, depending on where you are, I don't have the luxury to cool this time of year. It's still 80 something degrees outside. And so I got to wait until maybe February, March, if we get a really big cold front and I can open the windows and let the whole room cool at night. But even then, I might be lucky if I can get the room into maybe the 60s, high 50s if I'm lucky. And, the cages don't get that cold. So it really varies depending on where you are. And so it makes me think like, well, where these animals are, it's a lot closer to the equator than even where I am. So, how big of a temperature flux are they seeing versus are they just breeding all year long? And it's just a matter of when that female's ready and, finds a male or the male finds her, because it may not be like, oh, they're all breeding in November or they're all breeding in January. There may not be a defined season. It may be that females are cycling throughout the whole year, depending on if there's a big storm or, maybe the moon cycle plays a bigger role in it than in the wild. So I don't know that we necessarily have to breed them on like a certain 12-month schedule that we set, right? And it probably varies depending on where we are, what we're able to use as that stimulus.
And it could very well just be like relative seasonal changes as opposed to like absolute like temperatures. Like it doesn't have to get to a specific temperature. It just has to be a temperature range difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I remember when I was first getting back into Amazons and kind of toying with the idea of breeding them, doing that due diligence and looking like some articles that had been shared and put in various magazines where people were talking about, you want to cool them, you want to give them that temperature cycle, and then going all the way back to the Blue Bible, the reproductive husbandry of boas and pythons, and it doesn't even mention cooling or doing anything like that. And I know for me, like I haven't cooled anything, similarly to Noah, like I keep everything pretty much in the low 80s unless it's a gravid female. And then I'm bumping up those temperatures for her. But yeah, I'm not stressed to give a seasonal change or trigger for them. I think overall for a lot of my animals, I put a lot more focus on food trigger and kind of feeding in a higher frequency just to kind of get them into that headspace versus anything else.
And even in the wild where they're from, they have such a vast range, like a wide range that even when you do light cycle or temp cycle, you have animals above the equator and far below the equator, so they're having different light cycles. They're having different temperature ranges. You have an animal up in Costa Rica, and then you have an animal all the way down in like southern Brazil or, Peru, something like that, northern Peru. It's very different. It's all over. They're probably breeding at different times of the year themselves,
Yeah.
Think about that.
So, I will say this, like we all have similar ways. We see these kind of patterns with the seasons. They're pretty consistent, from that January, March, we start to see the ovulations, within that same May timeframe, something like that. But I will say with these animals, if you don't know what you're doing and you do want to pair them up, if you just leave them together and separate them to feed them and put them back together and you continue to do that, you will breed them. Like this is one of the species that is actually pretty easy to breed. A lot of people breed this species not intentionally. They want to make like a bioactive setup and they want two different color Amazons and they realize they have a pair. I hear this all the time, oh, that was my first snake I bred, back in the 90s or whatever. Like I just had them together. It happens all the time. We can force it a little bit more, but there's nothing to it. I've bred other species before that take a little bit more tweaking on stuff, but the Amazons, if you are interested, don't let this intimidate you because they really are pretty easy to breed. The babies, be a little tricky sometimes, but there's so many people out there now. Any of us you could reach out to and we can give you some of those tips on how to get the babies started. But most of them are pretty good right away. Now let's talk about genetics or something cool, huh?
Yeah, I was literally just like, okay, now that we've got some some husbandry things out of the way, let's get to the nitty gritty. Oh man. So oh, go ahead, Randy. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, how do you want to do that? Do you want to just, I don't remember how we did it last time. Did we just like pick a gene and just kind of talked about that a little bit, or?
I think that's pretty much how we had done it. I think I guess we can kind of start with everybody's, I think, favorite or least favorite topic, which is inheritance of the red and calico gene and where everybody's understanding is on that. Because we love talking about controversial topics, and but also just like seeing, obviously we infer things from our experience and what we have happening in our own collection, and I know all of us are Amazon junkies, so we're also paying attention to what we see other people producing and how that may influence our thought processes. So I'll leave it at that. But
I would like to ask everyone here a question. So in one litter I got red calicos, I got red tigers with black stripes and reds with white stripes. So I always thought the reds with the white stripes are calico tigers, that the reds with the black stripes were just red tigers, and that the reds with the the white markings with the regular classic calicos. So are they all calicos? Like, if are both tigers calicos? If one's black stripes, one's got white stripes. I know when they age, they could look identical.
They could
yes
be.
And no. Yes
They
and
could.
no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't know what to call them all. And what if they're all from the same litter and they have the same genetics?
So I had a litter this year from two animals I bought from Rory. One of them was a calico, and the other was a red orange tiger with black stripes. I put them together. I got calicos, I got calico tigers, and I got tigers. Mm-hmm. From just pairing a calico male to a reddish orange with black stripes tiger female.
What did the tigers look like?
One of them is red with white stripes. The other one's red with black stripes.
Mm-hmm.
So they both calico tigers?
But you can also
that's what I want to know. I want to know.
Could be.
How could they not be?
Yeah, it could. I think it could be. Because when they go through their OCC, when they go through their change, they can develop more white. The red and black animals can develop more white. The red and white animals can develop more black.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this too. Like, is there a way that some of the animals, even though they're heterozygous, they're expressing some visual traits? Like I have this snake I call Hellboy, and he's a red tiger, but he's not a calico. He is at least heterozygous calico because he produced calicos. If you look at him, he doesn't really look like, he has like an orangish color head, but then he has a lot of white scales all over the place too. So it's kind of hard to tell. Like, are we seeing just a wide spectrum of calico from light to dark, and then pattern to no pattern, or are we actually seeing, something different there?
I thought that all the reds were calicos, but you had low expression calicos and high expression calicos, but all the reds were actually calicos. Rory, I feel like that's a conversation I had with you at one point, but I don't know where we are as a community on that. I feel like some people think that there's reds that are not calicos, and then there's red calicos.
Absolutely, there are. Yeah, there are
calicos that are not red, that are another color. So I don't even know where are we with defining red versus red calico.
What about oranges that have calico markings?
Yeah, to me, more and more like how you want to label it, because we haven't quite figured it out. Right. It's more just done on based on the expression of the phenotype. Like, the more exaggerated they are, the more confident you are in just calling it a calico, of course. Yeah. But genetically, and whether or not that animal will pass on or won't pass on that look to its offspring, just depends on so many different factors. And at this point, I've absolutely produced red animals that were born just red, stayed red, no calico influence whatsoever. Did not
they
produce
any calicos?
No, did not produce calicos. But I've also had the inverse happen. Animals that that do end up going on to produce calicos like later on when I'm pairing them. They're like their offspring. I've had that. And at this point, I've had a litter a few weeks ago that was some pretty interesting results along these lines. Vincent, if you remember some of those early animals that you got from me, those calicos that were from breeding two bicolors together.
Yeah, that bicolor female, that bicolor
I know
female, that she's one of my favorites. Everything she produces is fire, man.
Yeah, and
Great genetics, man. She takes the black out of everything you pair her with.
And what's kind of bizarre about her is like she did not come from the nicer of the yellow lines that I worked with initially. She came out with technically I think she's crossed between those. But what I was kind of getting at there is this. I've actually bred two of the yellow siblings to the animals one of the animals that you got that season. I specifically picked out, going back again a little bit, because I bred the original parents bicolor to bicolor tiger. I got really nice bicolors, bicolor tigers, and then a couple really nice calicos out of that. Going from there, breeding two of those bicolor siblings just this last season produced some babies that were all yellow. I didn't get any reds out of this, which is kind of what I was expecting, because if I were to look at the bicolors and try to gauge like, is this one het red or is it not het red, I purposely picked two animals that I would have bet were not het red. So I was actually going for something to eliminate any chance of red offspring. But the reason why I really did that is because I wanted to see if I could isolate anything specific in terms of like a calico influence into yellow animals.
With the white, it's so nice, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you it's kind of like a matter of contrast. What I'm seeing when you see the white on a red, that white is really high contrast. But when you see like that, you can kind of look at it, and especially as they age, you're like, well, that white, in some spots is like bleach white, but in other spots it's kind of gray, like it's kind of like a weird washed out sort of grayish silver kind of color. And these yellow offspring, like, man, do they all have that? It's very subtle, but they have what looks like kind of calico patterning, where you would see as calico patterning if it was a red animal.
With like those like saddles on it on the sides and stuff.
Yes, right. But it's kind of like just it's sort of like a yellow on like a more faint off yellow gray kind of color. That's cool. You can't really tell, but it's like there across this whole litter, and it varies quite a bit in like the expression, to where there's like one animal specifically out of that litter where I'm looking at it and it's just a yellow bicolor, but I'm thinking like you have all the abnormal like pattern aberrations that in the same places that I would expect to see out of like those very high expression calico tigers.
I saw a picture.
Yeah, Jacob saw
I saw a picture.
So are you calling
nice
those
animal,
yellow
Rory.
calicos?
No, I'm not going to call them yellow calicos. Not maybe 10 years from now when I work on them a bit, but I don't know. It just it is what it is. I've always felt like the calico thing was in fact separate from the red gene. I feel like just whatever it is about the red animals, it's sort of like hitting a combination with that calico gene.
Yeah, they just stick together. Like they're just paired up perfectly, the red and the calico. But
it's a synergy. It's kind of like
I just feel the same way. Like I feel like we can pull that out somehow.
And now, I had another small litter recently with some other calico siblings that I bred together. One of them being a really nice looking bicolor, to like kind of like, I call them reverse bicolors. They're those ones that start out red and then they kind of like go like real trippy orange, a little bit more orange. As adults, I really like that phenotype in general. But she came from like a very high expression calico parent that had a couple very high expression siblings in it. So, but when I bred these animals together, I got reds that are just like obviously not calicos, and I'm scratching my
Solid
head.
reds.
They're just reds. I wouldn't like. Yeah, they're just reds, and I'm thinking, well, I know you're both het red, obviously, and I know you came from wild high expression calicos, but they're not. So I don't know.
The parents were yellows, you said?
Pardon me?
The parents were yellow on those ones as well?
One of them was like a nice textbook yellow bicolor. The other was like that reverse bicolor, where it's basically like it's like a solid red animal that has like a little bit of more of like an orange pattern.
Okay.
But Rory, do you think that it's the white markings that make it the calico, or is it the black markings that make it the calico, or is it the combination? Because I remember you telling me once your goal was to breed the black out because you like the more white, but kind of to what Vincent's saying, like you breed calicos to tigers, and sometimes you get red with black stripes, and sometimes you get red with white stripes. Are they both calico tigers, or are they just tigers? Because it's like you get the black and the white. Sometimes you get both. Sometimes you only get one.
Yeah, sometimes I think Jacob chimed in and mentioned they like those relatively low expression animals can end up like with a really good amount of white to them, but there's sort of like two different expressions with the white when it comes to calicos. They can kind of show it in two different ways. Like I think of it as being almost like two different layers of expression. One of them being like that calico can occur primarily where you would see a traditional like black pattern, like if you're taking that like standard kind of wild type with the black ocular pattern to it. That's where you see the white on like those classic 50-50, high expression candy cane looking animals. And then that's of course sort of where you start to see as they mature that chaotic random black speckling sort of fills in with maturity. So you can see that black pattern is kind of coming in over where the pattern should have been when it was born. But there's just something like pixelated and scrambled to it, which is why I feel like I maintain the red calico is in fact also a pattern mutation.
Yeah, I feel like both those tigers, the one with the white stripes, the one with the black, it's like they have potential to end up identical, both super dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I forgot where I was going on that tangent. The other main expression, thank you for reminding me, is you get animals that tend to be like more maybe patternless red. But they like start to show a lot of really nice blushing, like usually it comes from the belly and it kind of goes up the sides. And that's on sort of like a wash layer where it almost looks like it's more like a white skin. White flesh on the animal. Where when you see the scale separation on the side, you might have a solid reddish looking animal, but you get all that white showing from that layer. And so I think, again, the expression of your calico depends on how many other genes do you have in that thing. Is it het garden? Is it het garden? Does it have a lot of black? That's going to influence where you see the white, how much white there is. If it comes from an animal or a line where there's like, but again, this is what's frustrating and fun about it. You could say, I'm trying to breed that black out of calicos. I've been doing it for like 10 years now, and it is so ridiculously stubborn. Why is that black
melanin
come? Yeah, why does that melanin come in every time with these calicos when I'm doing nothing but breeding calicos like from the cleanest, lowest melanin animals? I mean, I've taken bicolors, bred them together, produced calicos that went on to become very melanistic. But those bicolors, the parents came from bicolors, which came from bicolors, which came from, and there might be some reds or in there, but they were clean reds and everything low melanin, and you still can get these really, really melanistic looking calicos. So there's just so much still up in the air. I'm doing all kinds of like random, pairings, trying to figure it out. But like the more I work with it, just like the more surprising it is that I haven't really been able to nail it down.
I think you said it. There's more genes than we ever talk about.
Yeah.
There's all these genes that we don't know what the heck they are. I think they're probably very similar to crested geckos, where there's a ton of genes that people have figured out at this point, and now they sell them for lots of money, right? But Amazons,
I
we have all
I
these.
might have had one of those like lavender. I think they call them the I'm sorry, tangent lavender crested
No,
geckos.
Yeah.
Is that a big thing? Was that a big thing a while ago?
I don't
Does anyone know
remember.
crested
I've
gecko
been,
more? Pardon me. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Just because I
it's
think I might
absolutely
have
no
had
problem.
I might have had one of those crested geckos a long time ago before anyone recognized that it was a morph.
Last time I was paying attention to cresteds, Xanthics was a thing. So I don't know if that's I don't know where crested geckos are at right now, but probably.
They're still
Let's
a
just
thing.
say probably. Yeah.
But just to add on with the tiger thing, I feel like, like I was saying, how both looks can go dark, but only the one with the white stripes can go light. I feel like you won't get a baby with black stripes that'll go high. That'll get that white wash in between and go super high white. I feel like it's very, very rare to see that.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is you do get animals that will show like a very, very like high white progression, but what happens is after several years they hit maturity and then it darkens up again.
Yeah,
and so I have some, and I've produced many reds that were low expression calico, and then 2-3 years old they look amazing, and there's tons of white showing there, and then you breed them once, so they're 5 years old, 6 years old, and then they're just almost solid black.
I'm noticing now some of my
they produce nice babies.
Yeah.
What about a tiger that's got both black and white stripes?
That's a calico tiger.
I've got a yellow tiger that was produced by Keith McPeak, and it started out as a yellow tiger with black stripes, and then when it went through its color change, it added white stripes. So it's got black and white stripes.
I had one of my first calico holdbacks actually that I ever made. He at one point, when he was about a year old, shed, and his entire head went bald, pure white on his head. And it was like that for like maybe a year or so. And then over the course of like just 2 or 3 sheds after that, it all filled in. And
so what is that though, Rory? A tiger with both black and white stripes, is that a yellow calico tiger? Or is it just a yellow?
Wait, I'm sorry, what is the base color of that animal?
No, if it's yellow, it's not calico. Right now,
but it's
from
got
what we know.
both black and white stripes. So it's a black and white striped yellow tiger.
Well, you might have to show us some photos of that.
Is there a way? Can you drop photos in the chat here?
Let's see.
You know what it is too? I feel like that. The definition of calico. It's used.
Yeah.
So strangely with the Amazons, because you could take any wild type that comes out and it's got this crazy modeled broken up pattern of different colors, and technically that definition under dictionary is calico,
Yeah. And why are we seeing such a huge range too, like from very subtle to these extreme blown out, pixelated animals.
And one thing I would love to get everybody,
because it's not incomplete dominant. We've kind of ruled that out, right?
Well, kind of. In my experience with trying to target like high expression calicos, I've found across some litters there seems to be like a predictable ratio. Like you get out of a litter, maybe they're all red, but like half of them might be solid red. Like a quarter of them are nice calicos, and then a quarter of them are very high expression calicos.
Right.
Like you do see sort of a consistent ratio of expressions with the calicos, which kind of makes my intuition think that there's something like specific genetic wise being passed on or not, and it's not just a matter of it being random. But
I think genetic lines play a huge role. That one female that you have, the yellow bicolor that I loved, everything she's produced, none of the siblings or the babies are high black. None of them have black in it. Then I take, the female that I bought from you that was produced by that female, and she's a yellow bicolor herself, and I bred her to a dark black red tiger male. And none of the tigers, none of the babies have black in them. They're all, 3 reds with white stripes. a couple of red calicos,
yeah, that
and then
the
yellows.
black fills in 100% of the time. It's just you can't
Yeah.
know how much it's going to fill in.
I feel like that line though, like from that derived from that parent, I feel like those lines that you're producing there, they're on their way to getting the black out. They're one step closer than the babies that are born with the black, you know?
Oh, for sure. I've kind of gone like couple steps forward, a couple steps back, working on these projects where there was times when I bred 2 of the cleanest animals from a clean litter, but then produced their offspring wasn't quite like up to the parent's standard even. Yeah. And so it's not just always like predictable, unfortunately. And I feel like sometimes I've like, while intentionally trying to line breed like high expression calicos, sometimes I've ended up with like low expression ones, and then vice versa.
But then those 2 super clean ones that you bred together that you selected and that ended up producing dark animals, what were those siblings look like to those when they were babies? Did they have siblings that were dark and messy? Were the parents dark and messy? Because I feel like that plays a role into it too, you know? Like that second, third generation. Like I know the animals that together were super clean, but there's
does. It's like if you, I guess it would be like if you bred like some pet store corn snakes. Like they might be, but chances are they're het like this and that and the other thing.
Something like that, right? Yeah.
Right.
And so, the other thing for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what Amazons are like, Rory. We're starting with something
100%.
quadruple het for something, but we don't know any of the genetics. And it's like we've got 2 animals that are both quadruple het for something, but it's like, here, go figure it out.
And with the calicos, I feel like it's a little bit difficult to kind of get those animals that have no melanin, partly maybe because you might actually, because of the way that it could work, we might actually be like selecting for melanin while we're selecting for high expression calicos. If the calico is disrupting the melanin, but you keep selecting for the calico, you're also selecting for the animals that are passing on the genetics to produce that melanin, whether or not they inherit the calico that then messes it up again or not.
I dropped some pictures in that chat we had going earlier of both before and after, when it had just the black stripes and then when it started developing the white stripes. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No, did you put it in the round table chat?
No, I couldn't figure out how to put a picture in the round table chat, so I put it, or the Instagram chat is where I put it, the one we had going earlier.
I don't see it on
how to put it on here.
Yeah, I don't see it. I was gonna say if you message it to me, I can pull it up on my screen. Because I don't see it in the group chat, but
it's on his profile
damn
picture.
It, technology.
So since this red
profile picture,
do you guys want to see something? You want a little bit of show and tell?
Sure, yes, please.
Yeah. Give me a moment.
All right.
Animal here.
The mad scientist.
All right. What did you say, Ian?
Hold on, I gotta.
Can you see? I made my screen that picture. I don't know if you can see it. It's probably really small.
Oh, okay. Hang on one second. I'm gonna solo you here, as much as you don't want it to be that way. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I do see what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's nice.
It started developing white stripes.
Yeah, we're still just going to consider that yellow tiger for now, though. There might be another gene that's involved in that, but...
I mean, I've seen tigers with white stripes, and I've seen tigers with black stripes, but I've never seen a tiger of any color with both black and white stripes.
I have a red tiger that's like that, too. Actually started off with black stripes, and as it grew, those stripes would actually, spread open, and then there would be a different color on the inside of the stripe and along the side of the stripe. So
yeah, they get like a negative. They
it's like a highlight
along the stripes. That's what I call it.
What do we got going
on
on here?
Tiger, or was it a red calico tiger?
It was a red tiger het calico.
I wish I could zoom in on just your one square.
Okay, hang on. I just pulled them up on my
computer.
I'm gonna try to share my screen.
Here.
Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah, make Rory's full screen.
Yeah, we got a solo Rory over here. Yeah.
Well, we're on the subject of very
Hell yeah.
melanistic calicos.
Yes, I love that. Lovely.
So I'm trying to get this lighting. Sorry, guys, it's terrible.
It's all right.
You're good.
This is a calico het leucistic.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, damn.
This animal was born like so high expression calico. It was practically like a solid pink. It wasn't even red. It was kind of like a salmon pinkish kind of orange color.
Wow. Cool.
It is only about a year old. Oh,
and it's getting dark already, huh?
Yeah. Oh, and it is just.
Yeah. But it's got the nice pure white to it, though.
Oh, on the belly, of course.
Yeah, but it comes up on the sides a bit. I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I like how clean
That's
the
phenomenal.
Belly is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the belly's white, but man, this animal picked up. This is like the fastest I've ever seen one of these calicos go dark, and it might have something to do with the fact that I'm pretty sure that my the patriarch of my leucistics is a garden phase animal.
Okay.
And so I suspect maybe that has something to do with
some influence on there. And you said this one's about what, 18 months old, something like that?
Not quite. No, not quite. It's coming up about 1 year. This is a sibling to the leucistic tiger.
Yeah, I got some animals from John Martin and Keith McPeak that are like black, but I think it took them about 2 years before I started seeing like that much on them.
Man, I would love a solid black animal. Like a solid jet black belly, everything. No pattern, nothing. Just solid jet black.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, Bobby Pruitt tried to breed for black Amazon, and he got close, but never did it.
I think I've seen a couple of
images, but I think it's a leopard, but it's a
leopard,
like black.
Yeah, they're typically
leopard little.
descent.
That black leopard was produced by John Camp.
Okay.
The one that's on like Google Images.
The one that you see all the pictures of. It's probably the same animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice animal though.
John and Jane Camp produced it.
I really like those clean yellow tigers. I think they look nice.
Yeah, that was produced by Keith McPeak. It's sitting up in this tub over here. I think she's actually gravid right now. So she's super dark.
Hell yeah.
And this is her now. I just switched the pictures.
That one's the more recent.
Wow.
See how much of that white the white striping is coming in?
Ooh, yeah, that's
nice.
beautiful.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That's why originally I was like, oh, it's a yellow tiger, and then the whites start coming in. I'm like, is that a yellow tiger calico? Like,
Could be head.
You know how I am about producing yellow snakes.
You got to pair that one up with something identical and call it the caution line.
Yeah, I don't remember. I got to look to see what male I bred her to, but she's she could drop any day now. She's pretty big and dark. And I don't remember.
Damn, that's
he
cool.
comes on later. We'll have to ask him who the parents were. I have to look it up. I don't remember. But you can really go to the other picture, Jeremy. You can really see like how that white stripe wasn't there originally.
Yeah.
That's when she was younger. Yeah. Like that's just a nice yellow tiger. I never saw the white stripe initially.
I mean, I think it'd be nice if we could get some bright yellows, like clean yellow, not the dirty yellow, but that nice clean yellow with white stripes, or just the white, you know.
Did you see that one that I posted the other day? The yellow with the white.
Like a real white calico, you know what I mean? A yellow calico, like a genuine, like something we've never seen before. I feel like that would be phenomenal.
Well, I mean, those hypos that are being produced right now that are like yellow with the white ocular
little patches.
Yeah.
Those
are
pretty.
What I'm talking about. Yeah.
That
one?
See, that's awesome, man.
Dude.
Oh, Rory.
Damn, that's cool.
Dude.
Yeah, look at those eyes, huh?
Oh, he's got the leucistic. Damn, that thing's tight as hell.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Wow. I hate you right now.
But you see, it's crazy that even the leucistics, they develop pattern, huh? Like, I know it's the tiger, but it's crazy.
I would show you
Yeah,
my leucistic patriarch, but I don't want to crash the market on these.
It's like black.
They're
That is
gorgeous.
a cool looking snake.
That
Yeah,
really
it's
is.
so cool, man.
So to everybody who's listening, if you're listening on audio only after this goes live, I strongly suggest popping over to YouTube about this hour and 30-minute mark to check out some of these awesome animals from Rory. Because what you're also hearing is a bunch of Amazon nerds creaming their pants right now.
Yes.
I'm gonna
Truth.
need a minute.
Truth.
Yeah, those eyes are cool, man.
That is
They got
phenomenal.
Got a little
gets
yellow
bit
on her
yellow
face.
or something.
It-
Yeah, on her face.
Yeah, the face is very much yellow, and
That's cool.
his snake kind of has like a little bit of a pink undertone to its
I
color.
would say,
you
yeah,
know?
100%.
Yeah.
Like its head's more yellowish, but its body's more
The-
pink.
Like a
Yes.
creamy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like a nice
Cool.
creamy pink. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do
That's
you
cool
do you
as
have
hell.
anything leopard that has any color influence to it yet?
I've produced colored hets that were like very obviously het leopard back in the day, and like stupidly I sold them. You know.
Oh, okay.
And I have some cool you know, like the maroon or like the red kind of garden phase animals.
Yeah.
I have some of those that are het leopard that are looking really cool.
That's cool. So what
Hey,
are
Jeremy, I
what are
just
your
dropped
guys'
some more
thoughts?
pictures in the chat.
Okay, got you. What are your guys' thoughts? I think we've all probably seen them. The pictures of that red calico leopard animal.
Oh
that
my
was,
God.
circulated on Instagram a while back. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the one that was? You're talking about red leopard?
Yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find the
It's
pictures.
got like
and
a
I'll-
can
I'll-
base, right? And it's like red spots
Yeah,
on
it was
it.
like a cream color base with red circles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know Cody Joe up in Canada produced one that almost looked like a bicolor leopard, but it passed. And then Stefan Ty over in the UK, he produced that chimera that was like a orange leopard mixed with a more standard leopard.
All right, hang on. I found the pictures. I'm gonna.
Cool.
I was just saying, I think I've got a screenshot of it if you can't find it.
Yep, I gotta send all this to my laptop. One moment.
Oh, we lost Vincent. I wanted him to see those pictures.
Oh, I'm sure he'll pop back in.
Yeah.
He said he needed a charger. I bet his phone died.
Lame.
Listen, man, the struggle is real right now.
No,
I got a freaking
So,
ice
Rory,
block
you
here
showed
on my
us the
phone.
Lucy- You showed us the Lucy, and you talked about the patriarch. So, where are you on the genetics?
Oh, the
Tycho,
Lucis.
Lucy, 2 genes, 1 gene, bad name. What do you think?
Oh, well, all of the above. I kind of just I tend to refer to them as like leucistic or het leucistic.
Yeah, it just makes most sense if we can't pick something definitively out of a litter and say this is.
I mean, well, because everybody says hypo, they mean hypomelanistic. I guess it could be like hypo or whatever pigment is missing, but like melanin seems to be the one pigment that leucistics really do show.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think
mean is, like,
leucistic is still
original-
leucistic is still like not necessarily a misnomer, because that could potentially refer to an animal like that has like any pigment disruption, correct?
Well, I don't mean the Lucies. I mean the het Lucies. So I've always thought, like, that there's been this big misnomer that people would say, well, the het Lucies are hypos. But I'm thinking not all hypos are het Lucies, and not all het Lucies are hypo. So that hypo and Lucy are probably
if
two
you're
separate genes.
if you're just going off of like the melanin of the animal, I would say that's just
It's not a good
where
term.
it's not where like the distinction lies. As you could see on that little leucistic tiger I just had out, like it's already really speckling up in a similar way that its grandfather did.
Yeah, and I almost wish Dayton was here because he is still kind of under the I remember that one, but under the assumption that it could potentially still be incomplete dominant because he can pick them out from a litter, but it could just be his line bred animals too. Is kind of where we left off last time, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's where it all starts, right? Because Chris McQuaid, his het Lucy's were primarily like yellow patternless, hypomelanistic looking animals, right? And my understanding is that he sold off animals that didn't have that phenotype that later proved out to be het
produced leucistic.
Right. So that means that the hypomelanistic yellow patternless look is probably a separate gene than the het Lucy gene. They just happen to be in the same animal in that
in the same letters.
That Chris was working with, right?
Yeah.
That was my understanding, which is why it's always been like such a, I don't know, a white whale to me, because I'm like, I can make yellow patternless animals, but I can't seem to make het Lucy animals. Yeah, there you go, like that one.
Yeah, that's I really like that animal with the like white highlights in it.
Yeah. Go up to. Do you have the one where it's like hanging down with its tongue out, and you can really see the white pattern on it?
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool as hell.
Oh yeah.
That one, zoom in on that. You can see like it's got like just like that other one has the white stripe on the tiger. This one's got like you can see white saddles, and I think that's what Vincent was talking about before.
Very light eyes.
Have you
read that one yet? What?
Have you bred that one yet?
No, not yet. That one is only 22. So that one's only about 2 years old now. But I've got.
What was the pairings again?
Those are from the original adult quote unquote hypos, het Lucy's that I got from Keith McPeak that came from oh man, I'm blanking on the name now. But their GCR line, they were animals that Chris McQuaid produced and sold, and then the guy who got them bred them and produced Lucy's, and Keith got some of the offspring, and so I've got the adult, and I've got 22s, and I've also got 20s. So
Ian,
2020 offspring and 2022 offspring.
You might be producing het Lucy's, but just no Lucy's yet. Yeah, I mean that
could just be bad odds, you know.
But look at the white on the pattern on that thing on the side.
I mean, that thing looks just as cool, though, you know.
But it's like the one I just picked up from Dayton.
I was gonna say that, Jake.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the one I just picked up from Dayton. I call him Twinkie because he's yellow and white.
So no black on that, though, right?
No. But I've got like 1, 2, 3. I've got 9 snakes that look like that, basically. Solid yellow.
You got a bunch
of share the wealth.
You got a bunch of you got a bunch of het Lucy's, Ian.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been able to prove a single one of them out.
No.
Rory won't sell me a Lucy male.
Well, if it was gonna be easy, we'd all do it, man.
My bad,
If
man.
it was gonna be easy, we'd all do it.
I'm like, how do I get your attention? I'm like,
oh, Vincent, you just showed the pictures that you wanted to see.
I should have felt the telepathic New York Northeast, like, hey, yo, guy,
hey, guy,
let me back in, man.
Victor, did you see those pictures? Those are the ones you wanted to see. You just missed them.
I know. No, I was watching. I was backstage.
Oh, okay.
Though. I was talking, and I'm like, why is no one responding to me? I'm like, oh.
Get that guy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Those are nice. What was that leopard one I was looking at? It looked like almost like a pinkish.
Yeah, we don't need to see that.
A red.
We don't need to see that again.
Yeah.
Let's put that up there
Is that
again.
one you sold to something? You got rid of
Rory,
that one?
Is that one of yours?
No. I wish I could take credit for that. Well, maybe I can, because I don't know where they got the parents, and I
mean, is that
a
animal
lot of
alive
Amazons.
Right who owns it? Is it even, you see a lot of pictures of animals online, but I don't even know if they're around, if they're alive, anyone's breeding them.
Yeah, a lot of stuff overseas. I'm trying to get in touch with some of those guys so that we can kind of all get together and put our thoughts together here and come to a general consensus, you know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think roundtable number 3, which hopefully will not take another year to make happen.
Let's get
We'll
some Euro
make
bros in here.
international. Yeah, we'll make international for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, you
I've
better
talked
you
to
better
some
pick
of
a
them,
date
but
now.
yeah,
It'll
the
take
I know.
you
Yeah, I
another
know.
day.
Yeah.
So before we go, can we talk about orange a little bit? I
Yes.
have a line of that I've been working now for a couple generations that just keeps getting more and more white in it as it goes. You know, and it's not red. It's very fluorescent orange. Like not yellow either. I mean, what's that?
Patternless orange or like the Kraken orange?
Well, like the Kraken, except you know the generation after the Kraken is like twice the Kraken. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't. You have one, Randy. I don't know what yours looks like today, but I have
He's
one
like
that's like
patternless. He's getting some
Yeah.
dark scales from on the tail, but he's like patternless, like primo, like a reddish orange right now. And you can start to see those white scales start to come in.
yeah.
sporadic.
One of his sisters is like nuts, nuts white. I mean, I don't know. You want to see? Let me see if I can get him out, and if we
Jeremy,
can see
didn't
him
you
in
just
this
bring
thing.
in an animal that's pretty hot? It's orange with some high white scales.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like an orange animal with high white. That's like a creamsicle look, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can we? How do I get light on this thing? Like,
Here, hang on. I'll make you bigger. There we go.
All right.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
see
nice.
that?
Yeah, it's nice white. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Very,
Awesome.
very orange. Lots of white. Just, I mean, like calico white, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, but absolutely
Orange
no
calico.
black yet. Yeah. And this is the result of, you know, his dad was, you know, the Kraken. His dad is a Kraken, and then his mom was like a very low expression calico, if you can even call
Very
her
dark
that.
red though, yeah.
Yeah, she's produced calicos, and she's produced this. Like, so you know, I don't know what this is. I'm just assuming it's like calico in orange form, but you know, what do we call calico? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm really good at this camera thing, right?
Try to
I
get
know.
the light
Like,
in
Sam, I'm getting busy.
like
Not at the camera.
towards you. Yeah.
Oh man. I just want to take a quick second. Hopefully you can hear us and can also talk, but I want to welcome
Hey,
Ryan
Ryan.
Young into the mix. Hopefully he
What's
can
up,
hear
Ryan?
us. I know he was having some device issues, so hopefully he can hear us.
You there?
Unmute yourself. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, what's going
Nope.
on, man?
Hey.
I'm just kidding. That was me.
Oh. No, maybe there's still some device issues, but if he pops on, there we go. Until then, Black Square, Ryan Young.
The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man.
he's in purgatory right now.
Yeah. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either.
Yeah. Well, I'm breeding one of Rory's snakes I got from Rory, that freak show, to Bloody Mary that I got from Ryan Young this year. So, or this coming season. So really excited about that
I
one.
can't
go
wait for
wrong.
that.
But you know, it's when you call those ones out loud that they won't go and all the other ones will. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a male sibling to Freak Show that's gonna go this year, but he's a very clean, like bright red with like that white wash.
Yeah.
No black scales.
My
nothing
male
crazy.
sibling.
Beautiful though.
My male sibling, the Freak Show, produced those calicos I produced this year.
This season. Yeah.
Nice man.
Yeah, he went at 2 years old.
Mhm.
He bred at 2 years old.
That's
Yeah.
good. I can't get him to seem to even be curious
yeah.
until about 3.
Yeah.
Ryan,
He's,
are
like,
those
crying.
that animal from Ryan Young? Is that a 2020 animal?
I believe so.
I think I've got a sibling to that animal as well. It's funny.
You
we've all
do.
got
And
animals
so,
from Ryan.
yeah, Dennis McNamara does too.
Okay.
I've been watching you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, Dennis is another guy we should have join this group. He's got some nice Amazons going also.
He does.
Agreed. Giuseppe, thank you, man. I didn't even see that you were in the chat, man. I apologize for that, but he's got the information on the that red leopard.
Oh,
That's cool. Okay. Produced by Bog Colors. Okay.
Yeah, he said it passed away years ago, and the parents were bicolor animals that produced calicos. That's interesting, man.
That's good. Good to know.
Passed away though, huh? Fuck. Of course.
So does that make that one a calico leopard?
Makes it fucking dead, bro.
So if anyone produces calico leopard,
thank you, Vince. It doesn't count.
Don't matter anymore. Right?
Oh man. Fucking savage.
It's history, that thing, that's all.
Wow.
Very scientific.
Oh man.
That's true.
Damn. Oh gosh.
Bruh.
Are the parents still around?
I believe the parents are still around, if I remember correctly. He and I had chatted about that animal, but I don't recall. It was a little while back.
Okay.
Oh, who produced it?
Oh, Mr. Ryan has joined to the chat. Can't get his computer to work. That's all right, dude. Thank you for trying and hanging out. We definitely appreciate it, man. We'll figure it out for next time. I don't recall. I'd have to go try to scroll through a million Instagram messages.
Yeah,
but
right.
Giuseppe, if you're hanging in the chat and want to drop some info, I'll throw it up on the screen. But
And then
hell yeah.
So I mean, if you guys are done talking about orange stuff, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm excited about Halloween. I know a lot of people kind of overlook that, Gene, but I think there's a lot to be done with it, and I'm starting to produce animals, like especially like Halloween tigers. They just rock it for me. Like, and I produced like a Halloween this year that's just like, it doesn't even look like it has any orange on it at all, unless you look really, really close, and it has like bright red eyes. But man, people reach out to me for that look almost as much as like calico stuff.
Red-eyed gardens usually have always been very popular. The Halloweens, because you get that nice like black dark look with the
contrast.
And I know what you're referring to, where you get that typical Halloween look, but the orange isn't there on the pattern, and they can be instead rather black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. I've
Matt Lair was selling red-eyed Halloweens for $2,000 a piece.
Yeah, I can see
Back
it.
in
I
the
mean,
day. Oh yeah. Yeah,
What the hell's he
Matt
smoking?
Lair was getting two. Nah, man, he had it going on.
2,000 a piece. Jesus, 2,000 pesos.
2,000 a
What's the heck
piece,
of
man,
this?
for a red-eyed garden phase.
well, you can find a lot of garden phase, but there's not as many that have those bright red eyes. I mean, that's
Guys,
those pop up occasionally in like my calico pairings.
Calico litter. So I was going to associate that kind of to possibly a het calico marking, maybe. You know.
Yes
really
and no. Yes and no. Because I also, again, they're like the ones I mentioned earlier, like those maroon kind of like lavender looking red gardens, like the more like uniform colored ones. I've always felt like those were in association somehow with calicos, but obviously both can't be true, and I've gotten both of them in calico. So
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't know that either is definitively tied to calico, but I do think it's like really interesting that there just is such a visually distinct variety of gardens in and of itself. Like that has to be worth a lot, because the more maroon kind of lavender style gardens, they really tend to lack the same amount of like melanin in terms and pattern, and so
how are we definitively separating? How are we definitively separate? Yeah, I like that one. From a garden from a Halloween, like what are the characteristics that really separate the two? Because a garden can have orange and lose it too, and not be a Halloween, correct?
Oh, well, that's what I always referred to as a Halloween.
So,
yeah, which is something that again, it's they lose it when they're old, but
So, and I was talking to Taylor Gilbert about this because I like that he has ideas that usually kind of go against the grain, so it kind of makes me think a little bit, even if it's not accurate. I want someone to kind of put these things through ridicule because it makes us think. And a garden, we see kind of this grayish colored garden, and in the Halloweens we kind of associate to the busy head stamp with some orange markings typically, but we can have Halloweens that are not they don't have the orange markings,
Yeah, same, everything else being equal.
We can have some gardens that have like little teeny orange markings on just the top of the dorsal. I don't really consider those Halloweens, I don't think, just because the way they look as an adult, they're just completely different. They're very reduced head pattern, very gray, and then they'll just have, or even brown sometimes.
Yeah, brown. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They can be almost silver.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, those ones they had orange? Like, can we consider those ones Halloweens? Like, what are we consider a Halloween? Like, if it has orange and loses it, it's a Halloween. Period.
That's how I usually applied it.
That's how I used to, but now kind of looking into it, I'm like, why doesn't this Halloween have orange?
Yeah, there's a gal in Europe, I think her name's Rebecca, who's done a bunch of work, and she's got a whole thing between Halloween and garden. I thought that was more about the head stamp than just the orange.
Yes, and I talked to her a lot too about that. And that's what they've been taking pictures of everyone's snakes and kind of comparing them. They've actually made like folders of what they think these phenotypes are, and you go into it and you look and you're like, well, these gardens all have similar head stamps, even if they have a little bit of orange on them, as a baby. But if you got this animal as an adult, and you wouldn't consider it a Halloween, right? I mean, you got this animal as an adult, doesn't have the orange on it, you'd be like, this animal is just a garden, it's not a Halloween. But it could produce Halloween.
I think
Halloweens, don't they end up looking the same anyway in the end?
They do.
I noticed they look identical in the end. That's what I've noticed.
It's like I think it's like Emerald Tree Boa. Some of them are just born. Most of them are born orange, but some of them are born green, right?
Yeah,
so I mean,
some are born green,
I was just going to say
red,
that.
some are born mottled.
With the Halloweens, it's just the ones that when they're adults, they're black and silver or white.
And
they could be kind of like chocolatey too.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked in the retail,
it's usually the more high
reptile shop, we sold them. That was just a fancy name for the babies, That was like they just sold them for a little bit more because they were Halloweens, but they were still gardens.
Matt Larrera wanted to make $2,000 when he was selling them. So
are they just gardens, or is there something else going on there? Because
you have the varieties of the calicos. You have varieties of gardens too. Like how you have like a red that's not a calico. You probably have the same thing that's going on. Just no one's looking into it because it's more of a common type. So people look over it. They don't. No one's really dove too into it, I guess. And if they have, they haven't really put it out there for everyone.
There's some stuff going on. I think a lot more, like you said, just because they were a very common phenotype, like it makes sense though, right? Any dark phenotype in the wild is going to be successful, regardless if it's or not, like most of these animals that we get in their imports are typically they're het exanthic, they're het garden or whatever. So you're going to pair it to everything. You're probably going to get gardens and just pairing yellows to yellows.
One thing I'd like to mention on that subject, going back to the gardens, Halloween versus like the more reduced pattern maroon red type gardens. As far as them being distinct, I've produced plenty of both. However, as far as I recall, I don't think I've ever seen both of those forms of garden in a single litter. It's usually it's one or the other. When you get gardens, you're either getting those kind of Halloween style, whether or not they have like or how much orange they have aside, or you get the more patternless maroon looking gardens. And so I think that is like two very distinct
variants.
I've got
or one of them has or is missing a second gene.
I'm breeding a garden tiger female to a calico tiger male this year. So maybe we'll see some interesting results from that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I worked at the reptile shop, it was like, you'd be selling, this is like, 15, 20 years ago, but you'd have like the garden phase would be like $40. Then you'd have like a Halloween phase would be like
$20.
80, like, 60 to $80 or something, you know what I mean? A little bit more, and everyone would go for the Halloweens,
Yeah, just because that's a visually appealing, it's a high contrast animal.
It is, yeah.
And so
that
like
was one of my first.
it's just like if you don't know anything about carpet pythons and you look at carpet pythons, you're going to be drawn to the jungle carpet pythons because it's a higher contrast animal. And that's what I'm telling people is like, instead of looking over this phenotype because it's common, refine it. So if you refine it, like I'm starting to realize that now the striping is starting to widen on some of the animals when I add tiger to it, and it's not. So like there's a lot of direction we can take this, like maybe more orange in the beginning that's going to turn cream as an adult, or less reduced orange that's going to make the animal appear more dark, black. Maybe in conjunction with leopard, we could truly make a black animal, right? Like a double recessive. There's a lot of ways that we can add garden into it without just kind of poo-pooing it off just because it's a common trait, like even yellows too, like even these just standard yellows, I think we're overlooking some just subtle traits, like it could be like a granite trait or something like that, but we just see it so often that we just associate them together.
I think it might be
so
just like getting bold, but I finally really have come around to the gardens. I guess I'm just like in the later stages of keeping these animals, but I'm finally like, man, I can really appreciate this one for what it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wish that it's hard when back in the day we used to, they were given to us. Like I remember getting animals from Bushmaster that still had ticks on their face, and they're $20 a piece, and that kind of just makes you look at the animal differently. If I were to pay $2,000 for that same animal, I'd probably look at it differently, unfortunately. But that's just how our brain works. It does.
Yeah, no, very true.
Until we start to look into the animal and start to see like the beauty for what it really is.
Yeah, that's how I was getting back into the hobby. I mean, I always loved Amazons, but I knew, when I was a kid, I had them so cheap, so easily, and they muddied up so much when I had them, as they aged. And coming back into it, I saw how selective breeding has created such incredible lines and lineages that the animals are bright colors. They keep them into adulthood. There's so many different directions to take it into. I mean, each one of us can go in a different direction and work on a specific variable trait, and there'd still be stuff left over for others to get into. It's never ending.
Yeah, I mean, just going light or dark, there's tons of options you can go with, and just doing different kind of pairings. I mean, that's why we all are here and we enjoy Amazons, is because there's so many directions they can go.
You can get lost in it, quite literally.
Yeah,
for sure.
How did this project start? Where was it going?
For literally your whole life. You will get lost.
It could be worse things, That's
it is about the journey.
It is the best thing. It is the best.
Yeah, maybe it's not about the calico, it's about the friends we made along the way, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I mean, I talk to, I will stop work to talk to an Amazon person, just because it's a passion for, I'm sure, all of us here. It's just something that we really enjoy.
To that.
When I'm stressed out with work or kids or whatever, I'll just kind of lock myself in my snake room and just kind of go through and clean, and it just calms me. So, we all kind of get that same feeling from it. So that's why we keep. But what other kind of gene should we chat about?
I wanted to put one thing in on the Halloweens. I wish that Amazon Alliance was still up and around, because I wrote a dissertation on Halloweens and how they need to be separated from gardens, and I had picture references and all this different stuff. And man, I spent so much time looking up reference photos.
I think we need to. I think you're right, though. I think that it's an add. Just kind of how the extreme calicos are, I almost assume that there's maybe one other or two other genes that are kind of playing some kind of factor there, you know. And I think it's the same with the Halloweens. It's just a little bit more common, so we see it more often. But I mean, some of these Halloweens, they have really different looks depending on what you breed it to, you know. Like we're getting influence from, like, if you breed it to bicolors, or if we breed it to a calico, or if we breed it to, you know, just a standard yellow patterned animal. Like, we're seeing some of these genes be influenced by the different patterns and stuff of these animals they're originally breeding.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
so here, Randy, you asked about what other gene we're going to talk about. I'm going to throw a hand grenade. Because of my background in green trees, I often think, like, what about the influence of locality, right? Like, these animals have a pretty big range. Gardens may not be the same genes across the whole range. Halloweens may not be the same gene across the whole range.
I've actually had
there might be a geographic influence or a locality influence that affects, you know, how many genes a given animal is carrying. And so we just see them as Amazons, as sort of ubiquitous across the whole range, and we breed them together, but we don't really think about locality at all. I know most of them come out of Guyana and Suriname, but they're probably collected from a much wider range.
Yeah. And I talked to some people in South America, and they seem to think that a lot of the more colored animals are found southern. So I mean, that's just what
same conversations.
Yeah, really?
I'm thinking about, like, all the variability in the Ruschenbergeri. So you've got to have that kind of geographic variability in the Hortolana.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, like, we think about an Amazon as an Amazon, and you just breed it to another one that looks the same. But we've taken locality completely out of the picture in what we're doing in captivity. And I wonder, that might be like a whole nother variable that we haven't even like tapped the start of it, you know? Like, I don't know where do you begin? Tell us where the locality of any of our animals is. Like,
it would start with taxonomy, right? We wouldn't
I had an old friend that used to look through my collection, and he would always try to twist my arm and tell me, like, you know, you should be doing like scale counts on some of these things, because, like, you know, my intuition says that some of these Amazons, like, there's some subspeciation or something going on.
Yeah, but so I've often thought that to myself. I've had different snakes that are like, wait, this snake
different
is
head
young.
Structure.
The head is twice as big. The nose is twice as long on this one. That one's got a shorter nose. I mean, and I think to myself, am I?
No.
Yeah. No, not even that. I mean, just I get them from different places. One of them's 7 foot long and just gigantic, and then I have another female that's older and, you know, 2 foot shorter and kind of not unhealthy, but, you know, just much slighter.
Smaller build.
There's variation.
Yeah.
Right. Just so I've had that thought before. Like, is there some subspecies stuff going on in here? I mean, obviously they cross ranges with Ruschenbergeri, and maybe that giant one has some Ruschenbergeri in it somewhere in its past. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe they crossbred at some point. Obviously, we know that that's happened. Go ahead.
Have you seen some of the baby Ruschenbergeri?
What's that?
Some of the babies have you seen some of the baby Ruschenbergeri that are being produced? Like,
yes.
Bill Hughes out in Las Vegas.
They almost look like Amazon
influence. They look like baby Amazons, and you know, Bill's done scale counts to confirm. He's like, nope, they're Ruschenbergeri. But if you looked at them, especially if they were in a bin with 50 other Amazons,
you wouldn't tell the difference.
Oh, I don't know. I have.
Be like, oh yeah, that's an Amazon.
I have a couple of them, and they're you can tell the difference by looking. Well, at least I can tell the difference between mine and looking at it. But you know, that doesn't mean if that one's parents bred to an Amazon 2 generations ago, and there's a little bit of Rushi in that Amazon, then maybe, you know, maybe there's some different kind of genetics going on in that specific snake. You know, I don't know. Or maybe there are literal subspecies. Yep. I mean, didn't they just find a new subspecies of not even a subspecies, a different species of anaconda that just lives a little further north or something like that, you know?
Look identical, but different genetically is what they said. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. I mean, like I've got a bigger bicolor import animal that like her head looks like a small emerald tree boa head. It's just very like
but we know
wide.
They crossbreed in the wild,
like that
right?
pit bull, head.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys never
that's
have
what I refer
have
to it
babies
as.
that all have different heads or anything, you know?
What's that?
Like any of your my babies that I produced, I have like one or two that have like thicker snouts. Like they're not as narrow or tight. They're a little like bulky. You know,
I have one like that, yeah.
They're related to each. They're direct siblings, and they have different head facial
Sometimes
structures.
sometimes I feel like when I'm looking at like neonates in a litter when they're really young, you can get some that are maybe like born a little peanut headed, but then they quickly grow out of it.
And they have little chubby, cute heads when they're babies too. They have to like mature into those long snouts, you know.
Big eyeballs.
One that's got like a fat snout.
Yeah.
It's weird. I gotta show it to you. I gotta take some pictures of it.
Okay.
I also see as the babies grow up, the females' heads will just widen at some point. You can almost just tell sometimes by looking at them. Okay, I know this one's going to be a girl. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
When they get those,
does anybody else feel like that?
The big old butt cheeks on their head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the head moves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Head cleavage.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I would be interested to know what. Well, I mean, of course, next thing we say this, and the next thing we know, there'll be some publication of like 7 different subspecies of Amazon tree boas, and then we're all losing our absolute freaking minds.
Everything we've been working on is screwed.
Hi, Rob.
We're all
like they're all
do that again, Rob.
Yeah.
I think he's het Lucy.
But yeah, like
they're found in what, like a dozen countries?
Oh, if not more. I mean, they're all
more. Yeah.
I mean, we were comparing them to the chondros before, which they're all found in like such more of a tight knit area, and you know,
there's a lot more islands that they're able to insulate themselves a little bit differently.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like.
So even if we're bringing them in from Guyana or Suriname, like what about the ones from Peru or Bolivia or Colombia? There's all these areas that we're not getting any from, and then within those areas there might be sub what's it called, localities, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get down there and
bring
find
back Cook's tree boas.
Yeah, that's what we need. We would need a Daniel Natouche that focuses on Corrales, you know, and
like are we getting any from Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala? Like they're all throughout that range, you know. We don't get any from those countries. A lot of these countries aren't even exporting them.
We don't know, right? Because they're only being exported.
We don't know.
Countries, but they could be collected all over the place, you know.
But I don't think they're collected from Ecuador and then going all the way to Guyana to ship them. I don't think that's that extreme.
Yeah, but even if they were coming out of just
never know,
Brazil, I mean, like think about.
I think it's only legal out of those 2 countries, so.
Yeah, and then also, you know, like we used to talk about this, Rob, when we were at Nerd, when you get in a Guyana or a Suriname red-tailed boa, like where actually is it being collected?
Right.
You know, is it do they just is that animal actually living right along that borderline? You know,
and it was
maybe it grew up
sent to Guyana through Guyana. Yeah, exactly.
Or like was the person catching that animal in like right along that borderline, and technically that animal's been living in one country, was born in that one country, but it's just now moved over and happened to be caught in the abutting country, you know. So it's there's all of those into it as well. So when unless you're out there catching them yourselves, or you are really, really well connected to the person that's actually out there on foot, you'll never 100% know locality wise.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't even matter country or not, because the Amazon rainforest is huge, right? And it's not the political country borders that separate potential localities. It's the river, it's the valley,
the geographical.
Right. So like
boundaries.
It doesn't really matter if it's like on the edge of Suriname or the edge of Guyana. It's like, well, this side of the river and that side of the river might be different geographically.
Well, that's how you would. I
separated.
guess you would narrow down areas to target if you were able to get down there and look. You'd try to find natural like topography with like clear distinctions. Find the distinctions between habitats, and then start looking there.
Yeah,
but then like you got like Costa Rica and Brazil. It's not even close.
Yeah. But like Papua New Guinea is not that big, and look at how much, how much difference there is from different localities. Just different side of a mountain, different side of a river. The Amazon is way bigger, so it's sort of like I don't know. I have a hard time thinking there's not one species of green tree python in Papua New Guinea. How could there be just one species of Amazon across that whole range, that whole habitat? It's got to be more than one.
Yeah,
I don't want to think about that.
Bet against it.
Well, there kind of is. I mean, Rushis are basically just big Amazons, and they have Rushis in Costa Rica, and they have Rushis in Venezuela and Trinidad, and then they have the Grenada Island ones, which are just tiny Amazons or small Amazons. So, I mean, there are, there are multiple Amazons that we've figured out already. The question, I guess, is just, is there more?
Full species though so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about the difference between Hortolanus and Cookeye, right? And maybe a lot of the early...
Cookeye, I was just gonna say that. That's old school though.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used to call all Hortolanus Cookeye.
Exactly.
Yeah. But aren't there some Cookeye that are actually Cookeye?
Yes, just not represented in the U.S. hobby much.
No, I think like Jeff Murray and a couple other select people have them. Maybe Jay Wagner, Jeff Murray, maybe a couple other people. But that's it.
So right there, you've got everyone used to think those were all one and the same, and they're obviously not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you see, the Amazons are the pretty ones, and the Cooks are.
That is literally how it went.
Yep.
But when it started, who knows? Like maybe some of the lines we're working with have some of that Cook blood in it somewhere.
Probably.
Back.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Little Rushi, a little Cook, a little Hortolanus. You mix it all together, you get Tiger Calico.
Yeah.
Candy canes, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did we miss any more for anything like that? I'm trying to.
What about we didn't talk about marble at all, and I don't really know much about it. I've only seen a few.
Oh, that's what we got to get.
Is that the European stuff?
Yeah, I mean Dayton's the only one. Dayton and Giuseppe, and then we need Nick Mutton and Dayton to talk about that. They're the only ones that are working with it here. So.
And what about that the Paradox folk line?
Yeah,
that's really interesting to me. I don't know the fact that there's multiple. It looks like a ball python pattern. It's got you can see one full gene and then another gene. It's not even like they're mixed. It's like there's literally patches of different genes.
Yeah.
Different phenotypes. Super.
They're just like sewed together. It's cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you get sometimes like a yellow animal with like a distinctly garden phase patchwork to it.
Yeah, but his is like leopard, to a colored leopard almost.
Yeah,
that one's pretty cool too.
Paradox is my absolute favorite look in Amazon tree boss. I just love how it looks. Paradox Chimera.
Have you guys
genetically proven though? Like, is it a proven genetic where you could produce more paradox, or is it always just like a one-time freak of nature thing?
We might
have actually seen a few of them. They're very just low, like very low expression, I guess.
Yeah.
That seems like it's almost not that uncommon. Is that kind
of?
They
almost seem like flukes. Like no one's really able to prove it out. To make a litter full of paradox.
Yeah, I've always considered the paradox thing kind of like a fluke, but then again, we could split hairs on like, are all paradox expressing animals really the same phenomenon? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think,
because I have produced litters where there was like a couple paradox within a litter.
Right.
Yeah. You should have tried to
Yeah,
single those out and prove them out.
I will be. Really, I
nice.
produced some of my first like random chance paradox just over the last like few seasons. I've
Nice.
seen them for the first time in my collection. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to prove that out, man.
Yeah.
See where that goes, because every time I see one, it's you know, it's always a
I have
one-time
a
thing.
I don't see a lot of adults, to be honest.
I have a yellow het leucistic animal that's paradoxed with what looks like leucistic markings.
That's really cool, man. You got to show us that one.
Yeah, that's super.
She's
cool.
gravid right now.
Yeah, don't rub it in or anything, Rory.
Yeah.
I'm just generating interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
You know what you're doing.
I think the coolest look for paradoxes is I think the coolest look is that chimera look, where it's like two different distinct snakes in one snake's body. But I think the more common look is the like I had a snake named Electra for a while, and it was a yellow base and it had lots of black. It wasn't even patterning; it was just splotching all over it, and within the black was white flecking. And that was my favorite snake for a while. See, she passed away. She got some tumor, and it just happens. And I have probably another dozen snakes around here with random little paradox splotches and things, and some of them.
Most of the ones you're referring to, or is it like usually like a black splotching on an animal?
I have one with a white, a pure white splotch, and then I have a couple with a black, like garden patterning, just in a tiny little spot on a otherwise normal phenotype, bicolor, and then I have a tiger, a yellow tiger with red stripes that has red splotching all over its head and some parts of its body. Just that paradox thing. Whenever I see a little splotch, I'm like, I'll take that one, please. Or if a baby pops out that has a little splotch, I'll be like, yep, that one's gonna stick around here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just like that look. The chimera look is by far the best.
Look is nuts. Yeah,
it's crazy. But I'm all but positive that that's not a recreatable thing. The other
like a true chimera.
Right. The other ones with just splotching, like Electra. I just wonder if
I've associated a lot of kind of like paradox-like looks in the calico animals, just in general.
Yeah.
Calicos, siblings to calicos, you end up getting like more just like random patches of different pigments and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too.
Yeah, so much to the point where like I've had over the years a lot of people like ask me like, is this a paradox? I'm thinking like, no, I think that's a calico, or it's a low expression calico.
Yeah,
that's maturing and getting that random black all over it.
Yeah, sometimes they'll just have random big ink spots just all over, and they'll have like maybe a few weird ones on like half of their head or something, One of my favorite, like most reliable, oldest red calico breeders is a paradox-ish looking animal like that. I call him like the paradox calico, but I never really thought of it as being like an actual paradox. Certainly not a chimera, but he was born, really nice high expression calico, but with just big chunky blotches of that black, which now kind of like, because he's nearly solid black, he's like 15 years old, but you can't really see it as much, but it was like very distinct when he was young.
Yeah, that one by Folk Reptiles. I mean, that paradox is unbelievable. It looks like it's a leopard wearing like an orange skin or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's got rips in it, and you can see the layer underneath. That's another snake,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hopefully we see more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the overall consensus as we try to figure
need
out
to see
all
more.
the genetics is like, let's just see more. Let's
We just need to keep breeding them because like we see something new or newish every season. Every season we're seeing something that we're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like,
From season to season too. Now, a couple years ago, I had such an odd phenomenon pop up in some of my calico litters. Some of the ones that you guys got from back in like 2021 was like the first year, and across unrelated litters, I saw my calicos develop this like very distinct white like bar across their nose.
Yes.
And it's like these two bars right across the nose. And I'd never seen that before. And then all of it, 1 year, one season, there it is across unrelated litters. Like it's so trippy.
Funky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you see weird stuff like that. Like you were saying, the bald head. I have one from John Martin that's a calico tiger, but it's so dark. It has like the head is like gray with like red blushing, and the head's just completely like white now on the very top. That's like faded out. Very interesting to see that maybe it could actually.
I had a solid like patternless, really bright orange animal, kind of that creamsicle orange. And when he was an adult, he went through a shed and developed a dark red patch on his head.
I have a yellow snake right now that's starting to develop almost like red scales coming in around the head, and then just has red, big ink spots that are just red, like 2 or 3 areas on the body right now.
Ooh, nice. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for like a lot lately. And you know, I'm trying to think like, you know, is there something there? Every time I see something anomalous pop up, it's like, damn, there's another project.
I know. Yep. I love it though.
Yeah, there's a lot of directions to go in, man.
Yeah, there really is. I'm looking for a picture to share.
I mean,
the screen.
Rory's trying to clean up the black. I'm playing with it. I want to see what happens when we start actually just allowing things to happen and see where that goes. Like even the dark calicos, you still see some patterns, some color on the head or white bellies. Like it's a very nice contrast.
When you get a really dark one, but that belly like stays bright white.
That's nice.
It's so pretty. And then the cool thing too, like for anybody who hasn't like had the privilege of like really admiring like a mature calico, one of these really dark animals that's mature, is like that black that just looks kind of like ugly in photos, perhaps. In person it can look like a really cool smoky silvery kind of like a gray look, where you're looking at those
with the white next to it.
You get a cool iridescence across that black.
Yeah,
so
let's
man, it's very impressive.
This animal is interesting because it's not just like this is a tricolor or whatever, like this,
right?
And you can't really necessarily call it a calico, even though it has a white belly and it has a lot of white scales. We don't know.
Got white scales like a chondro.
You see how it has like the typical kind of garden head pattern, but like how muted it is. Like it's instead of like being defined by black pigmentation, it's more like just an off orange with an orange. You see a little bit of black there, but I see that a lot too in similar looking animals where low melanin animals will still have the pattern that they're missing the pigment to.
Sure.
And that kind of has to play with all sorts of like synergistic effects. Is like you could have an animal inherit a heavy pattern but not the accompanying pigment that would fill in that pattern.
And I wonder sometimes if the heterozygous genes actually play some influence on the actual pattern for other genes. You know what I mean? Like this animal, I would say, well, maybe it's like a tricolor or bicolor het calico, and that het calico is just manipulating some things in those areas, you know? Who knows? You got to prove it out, but it's that animal's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a really cool one.
Yeah, we just have to see more.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, but breed with purpose too. Breed with purpose and keep your data on what you're doing. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think something else I want to talk about on here, and maybe this be the last topic we discuss since we're going on 2.5 hours, which is freaking awesome, and I'm so happy that we have this much content about Amazons that's
Absolutely.
going out to the folks.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on multicolored tongued animals? Do you see any correlation with that to any specific phenotype, or is it just something that you see kind of randomly pop up across the board? So like my like that litter that I produced from that animal carnage, all of those babies have black and white tongues, which was really interesting. It was the first time I'd seen a black and white tongue. I've seen obviously the peach and dark tongue, but the black and white was a different look for sure.
I mean, I haven't seen any correlation to. I have paid attention to the tongues because I used to get a lot of animals in from Bushmaster, and I wanted to see if I could like by the phenotype, right? If there's some kind of markers for something else, like if it's the eyes or the head pattern or something like that. So I did take note of that, but I didn't see any correlation to like the bicolor tongues or whether that be like the pink and black or white and black. And you said the carnage babies have white and black tongues. I need to go check my baby and see if that's there too.
Yeah, it was all in varying expression. I think a couple of them like just had like a dot or two of white to them, but yeah, I think they all had that.
I think I think those tongues can kind of change a little bit of color too. As like they can be kind of born with the piebald like missing pigment on the tongue, and then it kind of fills in. Yeah, just like it would.
Interesting.
On the rest of them. Now the litter I mentioned earlier, that's like two bicolors that produced all bicolors that look like they're kind of like some interesting calico influence to them. That litter, interestingly, like I would say at least half of the babies have like probably the most missing pigment out of like tongues that I've seen to this date, to where like one or two of them like just straight up almost have like a solid transparent tongue.
They're clear.
They're clear. Yeah, there's no pigment to them.
What about belly colors?
Jeremy, if you've still got those pictures, but if you pull up the picture of that yellow snake with the tongue out, it's got kind of an interesting colored tongue. And I just dropped another picture in the chat of a Lucy adult that's got an interesting colored tongue. I think there's something to it. In green trees, there's not very many people working with albinos. I know Marshall might join us at some point, or maybe it's too late at this point, but I know some of the albinos or the hets I think that he's working with have pink tongues, and pink tongues are pretty rare in green trees. And what I notice is some of these yellow snakes that might be hypos or might be het Lucies have either pink tongues or pink and black tongues. And the only adult Lucy I've ever seen in person had a white and black tongue. So I don't know. It seems to me like if you're reducing the melanism in the rest of the animal, the melanin in the rest of the animal, why wouldn't you be reducing the melanin in the tongue as well? So, because definitely some of them have like jet black tongues and some of them don't. So, yeah, pull up that picture. Yeah, look at the tongue on that thing. That's a Chris McQuaid adult Lucy.
It's cool.
My experience, with like the different tongue colorations is like it's usually indicative of like something, but what it is another thing, because across
hasn't been nailed down.
Sure.
Yeah, this Lucy, calicos I referred to, etc. You see a similar colored like phenomenon on the tongue, but clearly you're talking about different morphs.
Yeah, pull up that other picture, Jeremy, the one of the yellow snake I sent you. That one's also got an interesting tongue.
Where did that go?
And what's interesting is I've got yellow snakes from the same line that have jet black tongues. So it makes me think like something's going on when the tongue's not jet black. Because I would think jet black
solid yellow animal, right, Ian?
Yeah. There's one picture where it's got its tongue out. But it seems like the normal trait would be a solid colored tongue. So to your point, Rory, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like a multicolored tongue or reduced melanin tongue like might be a marker for something, but not sure what.
But not sure what. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look at it. Make that one bigger. Look at the tongue on that one.
Oh yeah. See, that's similar to the yellows I was describing, where it's just it's a yellow
litter
tongue.
mates to that one that have jet black tongues. So I'm like, well, something's going on. Like,
yeah, same in the litter I just referred to.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I love the eyes on that one.
It's like little moons.
Yeah.
Yeah, those eyes are cool as hell.
Rory, that one needs
the Amazons that Jason Chapman was working with. Oh yeah, that'd be tight.
Yeah, I mean, we could take this in so many different directions. I mean, even the belly scales. I mean, you have animals that, as adults, with solid red bellies.
Solid red?
Maybe not solid red,
like
but
turns.
It
looks solid red as a
couple of my
baby.
babies have the colors all on the belly too.
It'll turn like
red.
checkered, kind of.
Right, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
One of my one of my oldest tigers has a lot of like a black belly. How I mentioned the calicos earlier, how they get kind of like a white skin. This guy's got like black skin underneath his scales.
But is it like a true black, or is it kind of like that grayish scales that they get?
It's pretty black, but I guess like in bright light, it's a little bit like more chocolatey brown.
Okay.
Kind of on that guy.
I dig it.
So my babies with red bellies, those bellies will turn white, or?
It's kind of hard to say. They'll probably have some color to it and have like maybe red, black, and white, or red and white.
Yeah, I've seen them come out kind of checkered, but usually it starts going white.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, you know, the old adage here. We have to see more.
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 I think that should be the slogan across the board.
Having bred these things for, you know, like over 15 years now, I feel like, you know, I could like give you my honest experience and be totally contradicted by someone who's been doing it just as long as me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's just so much.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely one of the things that makes the species intriguing and frustrating. And for those of us that really geek out about it, like super intriguing for us, for the new keeper that might be coming from a more genetically traditional species, maybe not so much, but that's okay. That's quite okay.
I think that's what makes Amazons awesome, though, because literally you can pair two animals together and have no idea what you're going to get, and you could get something awesome this year and pair the same two animals together next year and get completely different results.
Yes.
And so you really never know, right? Like you just don't know what you're going to get.
That was always like the conventional wisdom that I recall from like when I started, and like back in the early days, I used to be like, no, that's not true. You know, I've started to figure it out, etc. I know what I'm doing, and now I'm full circle. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I'm surprised.
I have a good idea, but like
you know,
Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts on, you know, as we continue to dive into the varying genetics and more specific phenotypes? Because we all we work with a bunch of different ones, but I think we all have like some really specific traits that we're chasing or really trying to refine. What's the goal there? Is it understanding more completely what's going on, or is it just the really basic, like, I just really like these animals and I just enjoy producing them?
I mean, I don't know, a little of both, but more of the first one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, it's always been about, that's not true. At the beginning, it was like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be thinking about. Like, right? You know, 10 years in, you're like, wait a minute, how do I get that red one? Right. And then you start figuring it out. You're like, well, the internet says they can breed these two yellow ones together and a red one might pop out. So you do that a couple times and nothing ever happens.
Right.
So then you go buy a red one.
Right? No,
right? I mean,
not always.
So yeah, I think figuring it out is definitely part of the goal. But I think just making pretty animals and appreciating them, as we go is really the
you have to.
The best part of it. Right? You make this thing and you're like, holy mackerel, how did I have anything to do with this thing? Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And you just appreciate what you're doing along the way, and forget about the frustration. It'll come if it's supposed to. It'll eventually come. We'll figure out, what this calico thing is and how Lucy happens and all that stuff. I think we figured out some of it. We have a general idea. We're moving definitely in the right direction in a lot of areas, but refine them, make them as pretty as you can along the way, and the more you refine them, the more answers I think will eventually come to the surface.
Yep. Repetitions.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And talking, we need to talk more, myself included. Compare notes
for a year.
Right.
I gotta check at least 3 times a year, make sure he's alive.
All you gotta do is check your phone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to be real good at it. Now I have to pay attention to people. It isn't as fun. It isn't as fun as paying attention to snakes, by the way.
To the animals, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. Cool. Well, I think we can round it out at a solid 240, guys.
Pretty good, man.
That's
I'm
almost a
super
JRE.
stoked. Yeah. So, man, thank you guys so much for coming on and hanging and talking. And usually we do a wrap up question, but we're so deep in. I think we'll just let everybody go. But yeah. Otherwise we'll be here for 3.5. Yeah.
But, if we do one of these every 6 months at the very least, I think we can at least kind of keep coming back, or at least once a year, kind of compare notes and keep going from there. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm serious about making number 3 an international version of this. We'll get some of the European guys and stuff and compare notes even further and see what some of those guys have going on over there.
We talked to those Europeans and we're going to be really confused.
Yes. Yeah, right, exactly.
They got different things going on over there.
Yeah.
Well, someone's going to have to convert metric, because I won't understand when they tell me how big their snakes are.
More metric.
31 degrees Celsius.
That's okay. Maybe
we all weigh in grams, right? We all weigh in grams.
Right. Don't worry. I'll put a conversion system in the background so we can just remove everybody to refer if we need to. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you so much. I've got everybody's Instagram link in the bio of this video. So if you want to follow these guys, you can go ahead and do that all over there. And if you want to see anything from Noah, sorry, whenever he figures out social media again, you can. And we're all suffering because of it, but it's okay. But
I'll try to be better.
Again, guys,
I'll try to be better.
Perfect. But once again, guys, thank you all so much for your time and information. This is great.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together.
Thank you, everybody.
Great show, guys.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye.